just looking at all this cat hair that I have on my shirt. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Cat Hair. No, I'm sorry. Welcome to D City Life Sisters. I know y'all missed us because we got a lot of stuff that has been happening in these internet streets that we have to get to. How have you been this week?
I cannot believe it's another week. Like, I feel like we were just sitting here talking about, well, this week the water guy came over.
Yeah.
But no, my week was good. I actually went out to an event because, I'm always talking about I want to go places, but I don't. And so I actually purchased the ticket to go to an event, and it was fun. It was fun. It was a bowling event, so that was pretty cool. That was pretty fun. Then my week has been smooth sailing. Tomorrow's Friday. I'm ready for the weekend as usual. So I would say overall it's been a great week. Still going.
I love that we meet on Thursdays because tomorrow's always Friday, and it's just like, I don't know. I look forward to talking to you for all types of reasons, but I just noticed that sometimes it gets me through my week that like Tuesday was a crazy day for me. Monday was a crazy day, but Tuesday was a crazy day too. And I just remember thinking like, man, I can't wait till Thursday when it's time. Look, here's what's funny. When it's time for me to go to my real job. I literally clocked out. Well, not clocked out, but I got up at like 6 o'clock, 6:30 from my desk in there. And I was just like, time to go to my real job, everyone. It's only one person in there. But yeah, I'm here at my real job. So speaking of which, we had a couple conversations earlier. And one of the things that we are both sort of experiencing and working through is this hesitancy and sort of like, it's not even imposter syndrome anymore. It used to be imposter syndrome, but now it's something a little bit beyond that. And it's not worse than that. It's just something different in the same sort of like genre, whatever. And it's like this hesitancy as a content creator and a YouTuber. There is this hesitancy, kind of surrounding perfectionism. It's not quite perfectionism, but it's like adjacent to that. It's like, it doesn't make sense, but we still participate in it in our minds. It's like, oh, well, I'm not ready to do that. Or I got to get X and Y and Z together before this will be ready to launch. Or I got this idea, but I need to let it bake a little bit longer. And so we talked about that a little bit, but I would love for you to kick us off with some of your thoughts on this.
I mean, like you said, we shouldn't be like that, especially, because most of us that are on here on a regular basis, like you would think you just get over it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, but I don't know. It's Okay, so procrastination is like a word that is often misunderstood because it's like a fear response. Either you could be fearful of failure, you could be fearful of success. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I personally, I guess that's redundant, but I had to really like think like, what is it that's stopping you? And like many other things, it's me, right? I could go live whenever I want to go live. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be able to continue having this conversation if I didn't say that Kamisha reviews in the beginning of when I first met her and Dina, shout out to Dina, aka Christina, Mada from Mama, all that crew, right? Confessions, can't forget Confessions. And I'm not going to name everybody. But anyway, Kamisha used to always be like, go live, go live, go live. Y'all can get tired of hearing me saying this, go live, go live. And I used to always just be like, well, that's not what I'm doing. I don't, whatever the excuse was, I had some valid reasons. But the biggest reason was I just didn't want to go live. You know what I'm saying? I was like, well, I just want to upload my videos. But like YouTube likes live videos, and people like, I watch a lot of live videos. Like, even if it's nobody on the screen, like it could just be their picture and their avatar and they could just be talking. And I watch that if the topic is interesting. So I was like, why am I trying to, put myself in a box when I'm watching all these other people that are not putting themselves in a box and it's not fine for them. So I think like what I have to say about it is that it's something that I think most creators probably go through at some point, which is why you'll see some creators like come out with some content and then you won't see them for a while. It's like sometimes you feel like you're getting stuck in this, I don't know which way I'm going with my content or whatever. And they just are, paralyzed. But I think that as I'm watching some of these people, especially the girl that you sent earlier, you know, her vibe was like really relaxed or whatever. And it's really just about just being yourself. It is
Yeah.
what it is. But that's the scary part. A lot of people are afraid of just like being that open, and anything can happen on live. You know what I'm saying? if my neighbors get to fight right now, y'all gonna hear it or whatever, right? So that all plays into it too, I guess, depending on what kind of content creator you are. But just the thought of everybody can see me, but I can't see y'all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what was bothering me. But so like that's just something that I mentally work on, because I mean, you never know who is watching you. You know what I mean? So that fear is really not a fear, because it's like, regardless, even if you know, even if I thought to myself that the certain people weren't watching, somebody else could be watching. You know what I mean? So it's like, why are you picking and choosing? Just get over it. So anyway, I've rambled enough. But I think
that was all so good. It brought up so many thoughts for me. All right. First, let me say that I think my hesitancy has been around some level of not even perfectionism, because I'm not striving to be perfect, but in my mind, it should look a certain way. And, you know, it's got to be set up like this. So until I can get this set up like that, and I'm not going to do that, or I got to set up this space to do this. And all of that is like BS. I mean, I'm saying it's BS to myself because I mean, I go live with you all the time, and it's so easy to go live with you. But when it comes to like me going live by myself, even when it's on my other channel, right? Because I'll do like some tea with TT, and that's really fun. Because I'm just really talking about something that I'm super interested in, and I've done a lot of research on, so I can just go all day. You know what I'm saying? And so this is another thing. When you just said it, it kind of just brought this up in my mind. It's just like, oh, everybody can see me, but I can't see them. And I'm totally fine with that. Like, I feel like, you know, we've talked about this before, where we used to get this, my mom had this recording machine, this dictaphone machine, and we would just be on there singing and talking and doing all types of stuff. And it was like, this is who we are on the inside. Like, we could sit there and we can talk. Like, we could do one thing, we could talk, and we're going to make sense because we talk all the time. We read all the time. We listen all the time. When I'm not talking, right, I'm working and I'm consuming information. I'm consuming content. I'm consuming information because our interests are such that we'll just get obsessed with something and then we'll consume. I want to know what everybody has to say about it.
Well, I want to stop you right there, because that is true, but I want you to clarify, what are you consuming?
So, okay, I consume a lot of. All right,
it's not just like cooking videos.
No. So I consume a lot of entrepreneurial content. I love hearing CEOs and founders of businesses and small businesses talk about their businesses and how they got started and things that they moved past. Obviously, we watch Social Proof. I listen to like Tom Billio. I love to listen to Jordan Peterson, even though he's kind of controversial. I just love to hear his thoughts. I listen to Andrew Huberman. I love listening to Think Media. And here's what's funny about Think Media. I used to love, and I still do, to watch infomercials like in the middle of the night when the infomercials come on at like 3-4 o'clock in the morning. I like them. Like, I like to watch them, even though I'm not going to buy the thing. It's just very interesting to me to watch. It's very fun and sort of like comforting. And that's what Think Media reminds me of. It reminds me of like a YouTuber infomercial where it's like a 24-hour, like you can always find something on Think Media that you can use, because I'm a YouTuber, so I'm always gonna, whatever they're talking about applies to me somehow. And I love, like, you know, we talked about earlier, like, This Is Nikki. She talks about all of the different social media platforms and how you could just best align yourself. You know, there's so many people that I can't even think of right now. There's this one person that we were just watching a couple days ago called Modern Millie. She's another YouTuber that talks about YouTube stuff. Like, I can watch that stuff all day, and it's never going to get old for me because I'm always going to be watching YouTube and creating videos. So it's like, or even if I'm not, my business will be. So it's just something that's comforting to me. So it's not like, and yeah, I get my fair share of, like, if there's a hot story or a piece of gossip that I'm interested in, like, you know, I'm not going to call the Wendy Williams thing gossip, because I feel like that is some real information that we really need to be on top of. Of us.
We might have to revisit that.
I think we will once there's more updates and stuff. But that's that was based off of a documentary that is factual. Oh my God, I have so many other thoughts about that too. But it's about something else. It's another spin on it. But I'll talk to you about that separately because it doesn't really have anything to do with our show today. But I love watching stuff that is entertaining, like the Reesa Teesa thing. Like I love the story that is involved with someone taking their sort of downtrodden, down in the dumps a story and then turning it into something successful and admiration. Like I feel like this is the beginning for her, even though YouTube, whatever, demonetized, not YouTube, TikTok demonetized her videos. She's now, I've seen her on Good Morning America. I'm seeing her all over. And I saw that she sent something where Tasha K is interviewing the one of the other families, like the original family. Tasha K, you know what? God love her. While we're here, and I know we're not in that yet. Actually, I'll wait and save that because we're not even talking about YouTubers yet. But it's something good that I have to say about it. But anyway, as far as like what I'm consuming, it's not even just that. I also consume a lot of planner content, and then I do stuff just for fun. Like I love to watch videos on makeup. Like I'm never going to stop watching videos on makeup because there's always going to be a new product or a new technique or something that I want to revisit. And like the thing about us humans is like you might know something and then you don't remember it for the rest of your life. You need to go and revisit and refresh your mind. There's books that I read like every few years. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I haven't read this book in a while. So it's like, there's always, and there's so much. Oh, Myron Golden. Let me tell you, I watch Myron Golden. I watch Pastor Stephen Furtick. I watch what's her name? Crystal Evans Hurst, Priscilla Schreier. So those are Tony Evans' daughters.
Okay.
Tony Evans is like a pastor of like I think he's been pastor for like 50 years, but he's like a super duper pastor. Like he's like he wrote this commentary book that is the size of a Bible, breaking down all of the verses of the Bible. He's so like in the word and in the spirit. Like he's probably one of the number one go-to for pastors. But it's just I like everything. So now I'm gonna ask you, flip that on you. What do you consume?
So I feel you there. I got a little bit of this and a little bit of that. I do watch, dramatic things and stuff like that. But I watch a lot of Social Proof. I watch a lot of, I can't even name all of the ones, but I'll just name like what they are. I like interviews with entrepreneurs. I like interviews with a lot of female entrepreneurs too. Like, so I can see, different things you can relate to from a woman doing business. But I listen to Andrew Huberman. I listen to Charlene Johnson. I think you do too. Mm-hmm. Donnie Wiggins, I already said Social Proof, but Donnie Wiggins is part of the Social Proof podcast. But she also has her own podcast called Full Transparency, and I like that too. She covers business, but she also talks about self-care and things like that too. So I like that. I watch like vlog style workout stuff. This one girl I watch all the time is her name was Britton Snow, but I think it's Mia Snow now. And she basically is a plus size girl who works out all the time. And she's always like, going through her journey of this, I fell off, or not even really falling off. But she's like, if she didn't do anything, she would go through what she ate. And she takes people around, like vlogging her lifestyle when she moves and all of that or whatever. So I watch stuff like that. Many content creators like that in the fitness part or whatever. Anything mindset, I watch that as well. I watch a lot of like if I'm cooking something, sometimes I just watch stuff like that. There was a section of YouTube that did a cooking challenge. They've been doing a bunch of cooking challenges, but like people are making lasagna, macaroni and cheese and stuff. So I like watching stuff like that too. But a little bit of everything, you know what I mean? But I asked you what that was because when you say that you become we become obsessed with it, it's like it has to be something that piques your passion and interest and stuff like that. And so I just wanted you to share a little bit of that because I don't know that everybody, I guess we all listen to people that talk all day now. because of the
Yes.
era that we're in.
But I'm going to go into that a little deeper. And I heard you mention Andrew Huberman. I love listening to him because he breaks down those scientific, like, brain topics in a way that's palatable and it's useful. It's like, there's so much utility in the information that he gives. It's like, this is the way that our brains work. Here's a person who studies that, and he's telling me how my brain works. And now I can use that information to have a better life. And Joe Dispenza.
Listen, we cannot name, even if we sat here for 2 hours and tried to name everybody, we cannot name, but I don't want to forget like Lewis Howes, Mel Robbins, Jay Shetty, Diary of a CEO. Diary of a CEO be having some bomb interviews. I don't know if you've watched him before.
I don't know. I feel like
I've probably have seen him. You probably just don't remember. It took me a minute to remember what his channel name was. So you probably seen his face before or whatever. But just a lot of stuff like that. Like, I think a lot of value can be gotten out of two people. I mean, really just two people talking about a specific topic, because, you know, one person thinks one way, another person thinks another way. So you never know what might come out. But especially if it's like somebody that's like created something, or, you know, has a great story, you know, whatever. You know, I don't know. I just
let me just like, go ahead, sorry.
No, go ahead. No, I'll end that just by saying I want a little bit of everything. I think we have
to piggyback on that. It's so funny because you mentioned something earlier that I wanted to delve into a little bit. It's like we consume so many things. This is where we are right now. And so some people have this hesitancy to even start a channel because people ask, like Sean Cannell on Think Media always says, like, what if YouTube goes away? And I think that's a funny, interesting question, because I mean, what if the internet goes away? We covered that a few months ago. Like, it hasn't happened yet. So we're still going to live today. And if it does go away, there'll be something else. It's not necessarily to replace it, but it's like life will go on.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out when we get there. And this is a funny thing that I saw on the internet. Is like, I trust my future self with all the information that she has to figure out what the next step is at that point, right? Like, I don't have to have all the answers today. I don't have to figure out what my business is going to, you know, go through 6 years from now. All I need to focus on is today. And when I think about how much need there is for people to give content, like, first of all, as a Black woman, I feel like we're so underrepresented everywhere. You know what I mean? Like, as far as like, and it used to be that you had to, you know, talk somebody up to get them to give you an opportunity. And YouTube and other platforms, it's like all you have to do is just turn on your recording, you know, turn on your camera, turn on your phone, and start recording. Put our voices out there, because our voices are missing from so many different areas, like in the media. You know, we don't have power over the mainstream media. Like, so when we have channels like, you know, YouTube channels, when we have platforms like YouTube and Instagram and things like that, I think it's important that we show up and we give our opinions and we talk about ourselves, because 2 points here. Number one, so life is fleeting, right? Like, it'd be a shame to waste and think like, oh, I care so much about what people think of me and whatever my product is going to look like, that I just am just so shell-shocked and unwilling to share my viewpoints, and then it's over, and then you never got to play. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like you got to try to get in the game. Just jump out there, even if you're not ready, which you'll never be if you really think about it. Just jump out there and just start, and then you'll figure out how unready you are, and then you can go in search of answers in that direction. That's one thing. Number two, like you said earlier, we're in a different state right now. When we were younger, we would come home and watch TV. I can't tell you the last time that programming was chosen for me, right? It's like, used to go, it's like, watch TGI Friday, right? And whatever's on TGI Friday is what we're going to watch, because that's what's on, right? And now you get to select your programming to such an extent that you can search something on YouTube or Instagram that is completely like refined to your own taste. Maybe you like, you know, yellow pencils with green erasers, and I'll bet you can find a video on that. I'll bet you can find a whole tribe of people who like what you like. And, you know, and that's going to lead you to something that you didn't even know about. Blue pencils with green erasers. You know what I'm saying? Once you get out there and you start to like get a part of the community of the topics that you like to be in, you can select, you can hand select and refine the search to find exactly what it is that you're interested in and what you want to learn more about. And if you don't see exactly what you like and are interested in, it's probably because it doesn't exist and you need to go and create it. And I feel like this is the perfect platform. And so for us to be, and this is something that it's real time. I'm not saying this like, here's what you need to do. This is something that I'm telling myself that I need to participate in this sort of mindset. It's like, don't worry about being perfect, because I don't think anybody out there is expecting me to be perfect. Nobody's sitting there waiting like, oh, where's Faith? She needs to be on time so she can be perfect because I've been waiting. It's like, no, these people have never met me before. They have no idea what I'm going to say. Sure, it's not like everybody's going to like me, but I'm going to show up and be me because that was the only choice I had anyway. Like, for me to show up and try to be somebody else is a waste of my time. Okay, I have other things to do, and I show up and fake in front to keep a job all the time. People don't know what I really think. Some people know what I really think. My boss knows what I really think, and my work bestie knows what I really think. And my coworkers, some of my teammates know what I really think. But otherwise, I'm just interfacing and being polite, and then I get to come home and really be myself. So I just think that there's so much value and there's so much need for content. People think that YouTube and other platforms are oversaturated, but you wouldn't think that, because I don't think
somebody new to subscribe to every day.
And there's so many people out there that I'm interested in there. We just talked about how when I was looking up the Wendy Williams stuff, I found new people that I didn't know about because they were talking about a topic that I was interested in. And I would have never known if they hadn't put those videos out. I would have never found them because maybe they're talking about other things sometimes. Now I found them and subscribed to them. So now I'm going to listen to whatever they're saying. It's not about you having the most up-to-date information. I'm not looking at you to be CBS or, Johnny on the spot, like, I'm here with Channel 2 News. I don't need that. I can go to CNN or wherever I want to go for that. I'm looking for people who are authentic themselves, who I like to vibe with, and I'm going to watch them. And that might be you. If anybody's watching this, it's like, and you're deciding that you want to start a YouTube channel, just start. Sometimes you don't even know what it's going to be until you do it, and then you look back.
I think we got a delay, but I want to cut in and just say I would even go so far as to say that you need to start so that you can figure out what you're going to do. You might have a one idea, and then you start doing it, and you realize, okay, I don't want to do this. You know what I mean? Shout out to On the Spot Live, because while we're talking about content creators, she's a perfect example of somebody who is just being herself. Okay, so she has 2 channels. This one is about like home ownership, and she talks about things like credit and stuff like that. But she also has another channel called I Am the Single One, and she has a very interesting story because she wants to remain single. So I think that, like you said, be yourself, figure out what it is that you want to talk about, that you're passionate about, and and do it. So anyway, shout out to her. I saw her in the chat. I just wanted to say, hey, but
shout out.
But like when I first started, like I can tell you, when I first started, I was so nervous. I was like, oh my God, I was thinking about all these things that nobody watching the videos were thinking about, right? And even if you get everything so-called perfect in your mind, somebody is still going to come to the chat with their negative ass and write something dumb down in the comments. Okay. So you just have to just be yourself, like you said, because there's nothing else I could do, right? There's nothing else I could do. And if that's what I'm doing and it makes you feel uncomfortable that you have to come in here and write something crazy, right? People don't do that over here really, but when they do, they did that one time when Jane was over here. And we had to get them up out of here. But and Mocha, shout out to Mocha Mima. She's another one. She's another one that is very, unique. She gives her opinion, and she ain't gonna agree with, you might not agree with her all the time, but she always, gives her own opinion and has a creative look at what she's doing or whatever. So anyway, I'm taking my own advice. Like I'm talking to myself, like you said, because even though I upload videos and I do this live with you, I really, really, really do need to go live way more than I go live, considering how long Kamisha's been telling me to go fucking live.
Right.
Hey Blondie.
Hey Blondie, Monique.
So yeah, I mean, I think that, the point of this conversation is that if there's anybody out there that wants to be a content creator, that is a content creator, but you think that you need to have certain things in line or whatever, like this message is for you. Like just do it, because you have to, a wise person once told me, you have to start building a body of work. One, to see if that's what you want to do, but two, so that you can have a body of work, so that when people start looking at you and noticing your content, they have something to go back and watch. So like your people are waiting for you. So that's all I have to say about that.
Your tribe is waiting. Your tribe waits. I love it. Okay, so speaking of being yourself, we're going to jump into this topic list, guys. We got a bunch of topics today. We might actually have to skip some because I didn't even think we've been on for 25 minutes. What? Okay, so the first person I want to talk about is actually not the story topic, but Tasha K. And the reason I said God love her earlier is because, you know, she's been going through these lawsuit like sort of things. I don't know where the Kevin Hart lawsuit ended up with her or whether that was a real thing, but I know once she got
I don't remember what happened with that.
Once the verdict came down in the Cardi B case, I remember thinking like, wow, I wonder if she regrets some of this, or I wonder if she, you know, didn't mean for it to go this far. Now, she did do a couple of interviews. One was a Joe Budden interview that never got aired.
And one, yeah, I really want to see that.
And then the interview that I did see, I forget the guy's name. He was a porn star, or he might still be.
Jumper, Adam.
Yeah, and he did a good job of interviewing her. And I think he asked a similar question, and you know, as far as like whether she regrets, you know, doing what she did, and her answer was pretty much like she wouldn't have done it any other way. I don't know about that, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe she wouldn't have, and you could tell that she likes to talk. She's a great talker. Like when I was getting ready to say speaker, but I think speaker has a different sort of like definition, like a speaker, like, you know, you going to speak at events and stuff. She does a little bit of like comedy sort of, you know, she does tours where she kind of does comedy and speaking, but I wouldn't call her a speaker. I kind of call her talk. I don't know what she is. She's a commentator, I guess.
So she used to be in radio. She did do some events. I had seen some clips of her before she got onto YouTube where she was like hosting events. Like maybe somebody would ask her to host something. So she, you know, I guess she always has been a talker. So, but I get what you're saying about the speaker part. But to piggyback on what you said about like you wonder if she regrets it, right? Like it's really hard to tell. This is just Demita's point of view, but it's really hard to tell because she does come off to me like the type of person that is stop or go. And once you press go, then it's a wrap. So like when she went too far with the Cardi thing, like once it was beyond the point of no return, like it's like I might as well just
I'm already here, folks.
Because at the end of the day, though, you do have to think about what all she could have been thinking about, right? Because she's like coming up behind people like Wendy Williams, Howard Stern, people who she like admires in some way, right? They've both been caught up in stuff before. And so like to me, I feel like she was looking at this like she doesn't look at bad publicity as bad publicity. It's like talking about me. And what happened with the Cardi B case, what that did for her, she's $4 million in debt, but that doesn't mean she's going to stop making money. At that point, the money just has to be recouped, whether she sends it or whether they forcefully get it, right? So that's the game right now. But it doesn't mean that she's going to not make money. And what that case did was it attached her name to Cardi B's name. Now, everybody who watched her on YouTube knew of her, but people who didn't watch her on YouTube now know who she is. You feel what I'm saying? Even though they may not watch her. So to her, that might have been a good trade-off because she still has so many avenues. Now, talking about, you know, I'm not trying to count the lady's pockets, but just thinking about the fact that she's still working, right? They're still doing whatever they're doing. Her set looks decent. I don't know where the set is or how you know, whether it's something that they rent out, whether it's in the house, who knows, right? But she's doing that. She's also rolled out this new segment called Wine is the New Tea. And she has been rotating like popular content creators. There'll be 3 of them. And then they just discuss whatever trending topics are going on, discuss their feelings on it or their opinions on it or whatever. I thought that was a good look too. But I'm like, I'm pretty sure she's paying them. If she's not, I mean, I guess they could be working for the exposure, but I feel like I feel like she would pay them, right? And so then now she's started the touring. She's doing stand-up. That's pretty much what she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
She's doing skits and stuff like that. Like I saw a video or some clips of her, and she dresses up and all types of stuff. I think I sent you a video of her dressed up as Lil Boosie for Halloween one year.
Oh, okay.
So she does skits and stuff like that. So I mean, you know, what I take from that is like we're all trying to figure it out. Nobody is sitting there like, yeah, you can say you have the blueprint for business and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, you're putting things into action that you think will work and trying to see what the next thing is going to happen, right? And so with her, she's in this debt, but she got to make the most out of the situation, and this is what she came up with. I mean, I gotta respect it, to be honest, even though she, you know, is like making some decisions out here that are questionable to most. She still is creating. She still is being herself. Like she is, you know what I'm saying? I can't let that part just go unnoticed. Like
absolutely. And when you talk about like being in her pockets, let me get in there. Is the room in there for me? You know, it just dawned on me that like it's not like she works a government job and they're gonna garnish her check. Like there's so many ways to make money
but
online.
she did already get like $9,000 garnished or something like that because they found one of the bank accounts or something. But
that's what I was gonna get into.
Happening with
okay, that? Look, here's the thing. If you're making money online, I would think it's pretty easy to start a new account or use somebody else's name or use a business name to collect funds. And then you have access to those funds and they're not in your name or your bank account. So they can't really do anything because they have to prove that it's you, right? And I would imagine that like there are people that I know, okay, not calling them out and they're probably not going to watch the show. There are people that I know who like have figured out how to sign up for free trials of like, you know, like, you know, streaming platforms with new accounts every month or however long it takes, every 3 weeks for the last few years.
That's a lot.
It's a lot, but if it's worth it to you to save that money, then you'll find a way. It's not particularly worth it to me. Plus, I really value my like watch history and stuff like that. And I like for, you know, like, I just think it's too much for me to do.
That's
to
a lot of work.
And it's like just not for me. You know what I mean? Like I just don't do that. I'm not judging those people, but I'm just saying it's just not for me. But if you could do that, like if you think about how, you know, to monetize on YouTube and you just put the bank account information in there. And if you monetize, that's where they'll send it. If you think about how, you know, you just develop a Cash App, you know, platform, or you just develop a Cash App, you know, avatar or account and just put it into a bank account. It's so easy to start a new bank account online. Like you really don't need that much. And I don't think that she's like without connections. Like I'm sure even maybe the people that she's paying might be able to put certain things in their name, and because she has a relationship with them, and you know what I'm saying?
And that's right.
It's like
that's right.
I mean, listen, I don't know how she's doing it, but it seems like she's unbothered. So I'm just assuming, and I'm not accusing her of anything. She's not even the topic, guys. We're just talking about the fact.
It seems like she's unbothered. Okay, so yeah, she's not the topic. It seems like she's unbothered. We'll just have to see what happens. But at the end of the day, I just want to say, like, even a person who you think that has it all figured out, at some point in their day, they're trying to figure some shit out.
Yes.
So that's you just gotta look at it like that. And I will even say this, okay? This is a little shameless plug right here because I'm a mindset and fitness coach, heavy on the mindset. And I try to help women stop procrastinating and add more self-care and fitness into your life. But I will say this in comparison to what we were just talking about, because I feel like working out is kind of like this, okay? Like it's something that you do a little bit at a time, right? If you you don't have to look at it as, oh, I'm gonna do a 60-minute workout. That's gonna intimidate you. It's gonna give you so many more reasons to quit, right? So if you look at it like, okay, I'm just gonna challenge myself to do 5 minutes of a workout and be okay with that. Don't compare yourself to nobody else. Your fitness journey is different than somebody else's, so you need to be focused on yourself, because the goal is to set a consistent goal. If you did 30 days of 5 minutes of exercise every day, what you'll be celebrating is the fact that you just created a habit. Now, what you're going to do with that habit is up to you. You can say, I'm going to do 6 minutes, and that's totally up to you, because, you know, a little bit is better than none. Subscribe to By Janita Joe. It's in the description box. Okay. Anyway, back to you. I forgot what I was comparing it to, but I just wanted to take
let me just say this. It might come back to you. Is if you start with 5 minutes of doing something, chances are at some point you're going to keep going. So I just love that. I love that approach, because if you just commit to like, okay, 5 minutes is that long. I actually use 10 minutes as my thing, but 5 minutes isn't that long. I'm just going to go ahead and just go do it for 5 minutes. I can do 5 minutes. If I can stand in the Chipotle line for 5 minutes, I can do a workout for 5 minutes. I can do anything for 5 minutes, right? Except probably hold my breath.
And then if you do the 5 minutes and you feel like you're done, be done with that.
Come back
again tomorrow. Because what happens is it stops people from making a decision. It's the same thing. This is what I was trying to compare it to. The content. You do a little bit at a time. And then eventually you'll be like, oh, I already have a routine. The consistency is the goal. So that's what I was comparing it to. You know what I mean? Because if you say, okay, well, I'm going to start working out. But you're thinking in your head, I'm not really ready for them 45, 50-minute sessions or whatever the case may be. But if you just said, let me just go do 5 minutes for 4 days in a row, right? That's 20 minutes of exercise you wouldn't have got if you just did nothing. You know what I mean? But then you might have accidentally slipped up and did a little bit of extra. You know what I mean? And every little bit counts, guys. The stretches count. Stretches count as part of your workout. Anyway, this is not about that, but that's what I wanted to compare it to, was just, doing a little bit at a time. So anyway.
No, I think that's so relevant, because we're all going to need, and most people probably are, but we're going to always have the need to be fit. We're going to always be after, not even like a level of fitness, but like, especially when you get older, you want to work a lot on your muscle mass. So I think that's dope. Like, as far as just trying to get to the 5 minutes, if you're not motivated to do anything, I mean,
yeah, because what's going to happen is you're going to feel better as you do it, even though you don't feel like you do. Nobody ever says, I wish I didn't work out. You know what I'm saying? I wish I didn't do that.
That's one thing you never regret. You never regret a workout.
And then the thing about it is, even a stretch routine, like you really, at this point, I just want to keep my mobility. I want to be able to raise my arms. I want to be able to bend and reach and squat and whatever I need to do for like regular functional, like go up the steps, you know what I'm saying? Sit down, get up, stuff like that, right? So at the very least, stretching is very important especially as you get older, whatever. But you just want to do like the dynamic stretches, arm circles, 5 minutes. Like I'm telling you, like I know people who don't work out are like, I don't want to do anything, but I'm telling you, you at least want to incorporate a stretch routine. But that's why I say start with 5 minutes. Stop thinking about a full routine. Just if you having a problem developing a consistent habit, you have to start small, baby steps. Okay. That's it. That's my soapbox.
I love it. No, that's so good. All right, listen. Starting with 5 minutes. Let me skip 10. Oh, go ahead.
I'm so sorry. Since we were talking about Tasha K, what I was going to say is that, yes, she interviewed the other family of
Reesa Teesa. Let me start with Reesa Teesa.
But I was going to say what she said in her video, her clip that she posted, Tasha K, is that she alluded to the fact that Reesa embellished and lied. So I don't know what to take from it, because it is Tasha K, and we haven't seen the interview yet, but she said it was a 4-hour interview.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's long. Okay. But I can understand why, because this story is crazy. Now, let me just say this.
And the daughter and son were there.
And I don't know if she has interviewed Reesa Teesa, if Tasha K has interviewed Reesa Teesa, but like, I find it to be a little stretchy to call her an embellisher based off of not talking to her. Like, sure, they might know some things, but the lady, I don't know. They probably
I can't imagine what she could have. Like, I can't imagine that. So
I can't imagine either.
That's the hook, like to get us to watch the interview, I guess.
Sure, and I suppose that she could have, right? I'm not saying that that's beneath her or that's above. Like, she could have totally embellished. And I even said in our last, when we covered this initially, that I felt like she probably left some things out, even though she was saying she was being transparent. Like, if I'm being real, because that's what we do here, I'm just going to be real. When I saw the guy Legion talk, he looked like, to me, from the videos that I've seen of him coming out stupidly identifying himself, he looked like he had some hygiene issues. And I'm not saying that, I never smelled him, but I'm just being real. Like, I'm just going to be real. I looked at him, I looked at his face. It looks like he doesn't wash his face. And it was like certain things that he was doing and that she said even about him living there that reminded me of people that I knew who were not the most hygienic people. And I could just see her overlooking some of those things, which is why I brought up in our live, and I'm sorry, I sound like your mother right now, but that's why I brought up in our live that there were some things that she overlooked. And when you're out there looking for a mate, the things that you can't overlook are lack of integrity. Like, because if you're gonna lie to me, that's a bigger problem. That means I'm at risk of you lying about something important, right? You can't necessarily be a liar. Like, it's one thing to be like, no, you don't look fat in that, honey, but it's a whole nother thing to be like, I have an offshore bank account and I'm gonna put an offer down on a house and I don't have any money. You know what I mean? So anyway, I think that's a huge red flag when people don't have integrity, because it speaks to a larger issue. And I think the hygiene thing is something that, listen, I'm not accusing her of this, but it's something that I could see someone sort of embellishing or skipping over, because it kind of says something about you that you accept someone who doesn't keep up their hygiene. And I'm just making a judgment off of this man. I've never seen him. I've never smelled him in real life, but I've seen his videos, and that's one thing that I've seen that was kind of like consistent to me in some of the things. I was just like, look at his face. Like, he's, and that was one of the reasons I had a hard time believing that he was a VP, because someone would have taken him to the side and be like, hey, I got this esthetician that you should holler at. You know what I'm saying? Or hey, you know what I'm saying? I noticed your suits be, I got the hookup on the suit. Somebody would have said something at a board meeting, or somebody, him representing a company, somebody in HR, somebody would have.
Her thing that she said to that, because people had said that in their comments, and she did a video about it, and she said that he worked at this condiment company and it was like messy in there, or whatever excuse he gave. It probably was a lie, but he was basically having to dress a certain way because he walked the floor and whatever. But yeah, right. But but the thing is, like, I appreciate her honesty, because you're right. She probably left a lot of stuff out, and those are probably the main things that she left out, because just looking at him, yes, I totally agree with that or whatever. But she admitted how she felt and how she was desperate and stuff. So it's like, I don't know whether she was worried about, I don't know what her end goal was, right? I don't know whether she was worried about stuff coming out. He got exposed. It kind of seemed like she was like upset that he got exposed and she needed to put some stuff in place. But I was like, why wouldn't you already do that if you're going to go on the worldwide internet about it? So I can't imagine what those other people could have said to Tasha K that related to her, because she didn't really talk about them. You feel what I'm saying? She talked about what she experienced. So I guess like that was something to pique our interest, to make us want to watch it. It's gonna work for me. I'm gonna watch it.
I'm definitely gonna watch it, because I have seen some clips of them, and the young man was very compelling, and I appreciated what he was saying. Now he did come out, and the mom did too, and validated some of Reesa Teesa's story. I would imagine that even though they maybe didn't know her, maybe there was some things that they knew about him that they may be able to speak to, say like, she would have had to have known this because of this, right? Or
okay, yeah.
Right. It could be that, or it could be, one of the things I found to be so interesting is that, how did you get this far and never, well, yeah, we talked about how his name and stuff, but like, you never were able to look him up as far as being like having criminal history. So that was something that struck me too. And then I don't know, it's just certain things about, like, I'm no private detective, okay, but I have successfully found information about people when I wanted to. You know what I'm saying? And I have followed a motherfucker before. I'm not gonna lie. Okay. Let's be real here, okay? You're in a whole relationship with somebody, you're sharing the same home, and you never followed this dude to work. Come on, lady. And I don't think that that's a good practice, but like when you think you're going crazy and you're like, this can't be, like, it's worth taking a day, it's a personal day, okay? It's worth taking a personal day and being like, Where you going today? Okay, bye. Me too. Let's go. It's worth it. And I've never, listen, I don't want to say that like I made a practice of doing that, but I have followed somebody before and gotten the answers that I needed to get. There's that, everyone. That's not a shining moment in life, but hey, it worked, and I found out, and I was able to use that information to know, for my benefit.
That's what I'm saying though. Like in 2024, we all should know that when you put stuff on the internet, people on the internet is undefeated. Somebody is gonna figure out what you're talking about if you're trying to hide the person that you're talking about or whatever. Like they're gonna try to figure it out. So if they're gonna come on there and say stuff like, like you said, she would have known because this probably happened, or he was doing this back then, and this should have been obvious or whatever. If they're gonna do that, okay, because that's just a part of their story, because she will be asking them the questions, right, to bring this stuff out. But just for her to say that, I was just like, is this clickbait for the interview, or did she really leave something out? Because I can imagine, but I just can imagine her doing this in 2024. Leaving something out that she wouldn't want to be blindsided with.
I can, because again, who could have predicted that it would have gone viral like this?
I mean, I could have. If you would have came to me and told me that you were about to do that, I wouldn't have necessarily thought millions of people would have watched it, but I know a rack of people will watch it.
Yeah, but I don't know if she thought that it would ever get this big. I mean, listen, I'm not the lady's lawyer, but I think that it's worth, I think that it's possible. Plus, I'm not calling her a liar, but when people lie, they think that people are going to believe them. Like, well, that's the whole point of telling a lie.
Let me say this too about Tasha K, and sometimes how you got to watch her content. You might think that you know what her thought is about the person, but sometimes you could be totally wrong. She has done interviews with people where you might have thought that she, was giving the person a pass or being nice to the person or whatever. But at the end of the day, she was able to ask the right questions and get the stuff out. You know what I mean? And then she would give her opinion or whatever. So it's no telling what she thinks about this whole situation or what even they said. Because there's people that come to interview with her that say some wild and crazy stuff. And because the cameras are rolling and she got to have this content, it's going to be shown. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to say, this interview is probably about to be a shit show just looking at how they're presenting. And I'll leave it like that.
Ooh, somebody said trailer park. What?
No. I'm interested to see the video.
No, I think they're good people. We're going to see what it's about. But another thing that just popped in my mind is it could be that, they talked, even Reesa Teesa talked about having been in touch with some of his family members who eventually were able to come out and corroborate some things. So that's one common area right there where it's just like, if she was
they married, would know those people.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay. And it's like, look, one of the things that I will also give Reesa Teesa a pass on is that it happened during COVID. Mm-hmm, so I think there was a lot of things that we didn't have access to during COVID. And
some people thought it was the end of the world and they were making decisions like, what if I never get this chance again? And that's kind of where she was, it looked like.
And just for shits and giggles, I just want to, I want to share this because this guy, I swear, like he's been making his rounds on the internet, and I would certainly. This is not him, but this is. Oh
my god, the way that this guy, it was Wavy. What is his name?
His name is Jerome McCoy. Are you talking about
the guy? His name is.
I don't even know who's interviewing him.
His name is Wavy. I'm gonna find it before we get off of this live. But the way that he edited this interview is hilarious. He edited it in shit that Reesa said after or before he would lie. He was explaining stuff, and then he would insert the little part where whatever Reesa said to debunk the lie. Lord, this interview was crazy. Like, dude is really, he got a problem.
He's troubled, guys. Okay, wait, we got to get to some of these comments. Okay, so she said, this is Blondie Monique said, the money, we're talking about Reesa Teesa here, the money she thought he had caused her to overlook the red flags. I wholeheartedly agree. And I also think that Okay, let's talk about this because we not even going here really, but I think
But
it's
she didn't even verify the money before she overlooked it. Like I'm gonna need to. Now, first of all, I can't do it. I can't do it. But if I was to be able to do it, I'm gonna need to see it. I'm gonna need to see it.
look at
We
this
got to go to
guy.
the States
Like,
together.
who in
But
your right
I
mind
can't
would
do it.
believe this guy? I wouldn't give this guy $5 at the gas station. Like, I mean, like, look at his mannerisms, everybody.
You only
Obviously.
have part up there. You can't see his breasts, but that's what he is.
Oh my God. Anyway, I want to just say that, and I'm not saying anything bad about her, but one thing that I do want to say, just as far as I'm going to go back to this because we're not getting ready to watch that guy. We're not getting ready to give him too much, but I also think it's hilarious to watch him because he's just such a liar and it's obvious to me. But of course, this is after seeing it. But one thing I want to say is when we talk about when Blondie Monique says the money she thought he had caused her to overlook red flags, one of the things that I would advise, especially younger women, like those of us who have been around for a while, kind of know how to read the room and know when people are lying. One thing that I noticed that women do is that they sit there and they say a lot about themselves. They answer a bunch of questions. Not to say you shouldn't be on a date exchanging information, but you have to be cautious because what a man is able to do is he's able to get everything out of you as far as all your experiences, your likes, your dislikes, your preferences, your information, your family, all
The
of this stuff.
blueprint.
You're sitting there pouring out your life about all the things that you love and all the things that you missed in your childhood and all that stuff, giving them the proper blueprint to love bomb your ass and think, oh, he really cares about me. He does everything. How would he have known? Because you told him. Because you told him exactly how to get into your panties. You told him exactly how to gain your loyalty. You told him exactly how to game you. And then women, I'm not gonna just overcast this with all women. I'm just saying in general, we like to nurture and see the good in people. And so when we see like, oh, well, he's trying or he has aspirations and you don't really want to look at the other side of the coin sometimes. And I mean, that's fine when you're with somebody who's got integrity and who's really trying, and you know what I'm saying? But like, one of the things I would caution people against in those first few dates is giving out all your information. Like, sure, tell them about yourself, but have it be an even exchange and be able to sort of like vet some of this stuff. Like, like when he talked about playing in the leagues, a good thing for her to do would have been to go home and Google that. A good thing for her to do would have been, to look him up on other social media platforms. So she had mentioned that, oh, I didn't even notice that we had linked up on other platforms and he had a different name on another platform. That's the first thing I do when I meet somebody is I go Google them. I go find out if we have any mutual contacts. I find out, listen, I sound like a stalker, but I found out what his work history is. It's very easy to find somebody's work history if you really look for it. You know what I'm saying? Even looking through some of the things, if you can't just Google somebody and find all of this, but there's certain searches you can do on certain government websites and others where you can find out who people have lived with and how old they were. You can find out if people were married before. Like, you can do all of this by the second date. You should have gathered enough information by then to know whether they've told a bunch of lies. Okay. And that's when you go into giving more information. And I'm not saying like I know everything. I'm just saying that like these are some things that I think could be useful to someone, especially a young woman who's vulnerable and wants to find love, and you're out there looking for love. And so you're so blinded as to whether somebody is even telling you the truth or whether they're just repeating back to you everything you told them you want to hear. And so when you start to hear what you like to hear, then it's like, oh, he gets me. But no, he's been studying you and you've been giving him the Cliff's notes. So I think that's something that we have to sort of like look at with ourselves. I think we all make mistakes, and I'm not blaming her. I'm not victim shaming, but I do think that, she said that she saw a lot of red flags, and there's a danger in that,
So the messed up thing is the only people that can actually confirm the red flags is her or him, right? And so she didn't share them, then we're not really going to know like what she overlooked unless it's something that was existing before he came to, before he left his other wife, right? But the whole situation is unfortunate. I agree with your advice to women to know who you're dating. And however you choose to figure that information out is on you. But definitely protect yourself, because she really put herself at risk. And it's about, first of all, it was the pandemic had happened. I'm not moving with a stranger, right? And I don't, like I said, I'm not judging her, because who knows what really made her make that decision. You know what I mean? But she put herself at risk on that. So I hope she learns to be more careful with that. But in light of that, this, even though, like you said, she got demonetized on TikTok, she's gotten a lot of deals lately, because I saw that she was signed with a Hollywood agent. She was on Good Morning America. And I don't know. I actually thought when Tasha did this video that she was gonna show Reesa Teesa there.
I did too.
I was shocked to see those other people. But okay, so to talk about them a little bit more, I find it interesting that they went straight to Tasha K. I find it really interesting, and she probably reached out or whatever. But like, I guess they do have a story too. But I just find it interesting that they went to her. Like, over Reesa Teesa. Like, I just would have thought Reesa Teesa would have been the interview that she would have.
Well, so I would challenge that thought, because they didn't do what Reesa Teesa did. They came out after, so their buzz isn't maybe as high as a GMA or whatever, right? And I feel like the way that she spoke about how she was trying to let it go and everything, and she's also doing like some sort of radio-esque show. So I would think that she obviously knows who Tasha K is. And I mean, I admire Tasha K. If Tasha K invited us, we would go. We would go.
Well, I'm just talking about in this instance of, I guess the way I was thinking about, you brought up a good point. Reesa Teesa got to tell her story, right? Mm-hmm. They didn't really get to tell her story, and it was very chaotic how they were even brought into the situation, because I think the son found the Reesa Teesa thing, and then he started going live on TikTok, and then the mom, she was going to go live. She was sharing her radio show, but it was weird. I couldn't get to the show. So I was like, okay. And then she was going to go live with one of the, who was she going to go live with? She was going to go live with either one of his cousins, or maybe she was going to go live with somebody, but apparently the person couldn't go live, so she canceled it. And that was the last I saw of them. And so that's why I was just kind of shocking to see that. But I'm going to watch the interview, because I want to know what's going on, because dude is wild. He's basically, confirmed all of her lies. He photoshopped himself into that Netflix thing or whatever. Like, and he really is seriously, like, it's really ridiculous.
Seems like he really believes it. I do think that he's a little sick, but also just to cap that off, this part of it, it's also very interesting the way that TikTok works. And I could tell that the young man was getting very frustrated at some point, because people were asking him questions. He didn't really understand like the app. He was like, I'm about to just delete this app. At some point he said that. And I noticed how like people will take other people's TikToks and react to them, which is good, but then it makes it hard to find the original one. And I'm like, what's the guy's name? Like, how do I find him? Like, what, so I think this is a cleaner way. And then you go into Tasha K, so she's gonna really get into the story. And it's not even like a GMA where they have like a 5-minute segment. This is a 4-hour interview. You really get to speak your piece. So
and she gonna ask all the questions that everybody want to know.
And I'm sure that Reesa Teesa is on her promo, which I appreciate, because she was the first person to come out. That's another thing that I want to give to her, because if they wanted to come out with their story, they had years and years to do so. Reesa Teesa set the tone, and she started talking about it, and then then it became interesting to hear these people's stories. So I'm interested to see this, and I've already look, we're here. I'm going to be real. I've already made some judgments on them based on what they're wearing. And I'm curious to see if my judgments are correct. And then
I'm going to wait. I'm going to hold my comments until the interview.
And I think
I don't know, when she turned that, and Tasha be knowing what she's doing. She's funny like that. Like, if you watch Tasha, So when she did that, I was just like, okay. I'm gonna reserve my comments.
I'm gonna reserve mine. Listen, I'm not judging. I'm just making observations.
Yeah, I don't know. What do y'all think? Like, what do y'all think about?
Let's read this Blondie Monique comment. If she had Googled, we're talking about Reesa Teesa here now. If she had Googled arena football player's salary, she would have known he was a liar. My son tried out 1 year, but he knew he would have to have a second job. There's one piece, right? Also, if she had been more, sort of, what do you want to call it, persistent about understanding where he worked, right? Because I'm not going to let that go. There's certain things that you have to see, right? I got to see where you live. I got to see where you work. Like, we can't really call ourselves in a relationship. I don't have to walk in the building and do an inspection, but I have to verify it somehow. And I think maybe she thought she verified it. And I think, like we said earlier, the money caused her to overlook the red flags. And she said there were certain
because she did say he was paying stuff.
He was paying the bills and she had never experienced that before. So I understand. It's like, okay, I'll overlook this because I get to do what I want to do with my own check or whatever. But some of that stuff just isn't worth it. I'd rather just, whatever. But no judgment on her. So next,
figure it out.
She said that he was fine. That is a huge objection.
Listen, I went on TikTok and I saw about 5 videos, and all the videos said was, she lost me. Well, she said no. They were like, she said he was fine. And when we saw him, I was like, girl, you lying or whatever. Like, they just all pulled that part out. And when I did see him, I was like, Reesa.
Who did she date? Who did he date? Who did she date before? Because if he's fine, and then look,
Reesa.
who were the guys? who were the guys who weren't even paying the bills? I don't know. They were probably normal people. Here's another one. Many of us she was saying overshare. I've been guilty of that in the past. I certainly have to. Yeah. I actually have a story time for you guys. Yeah, I knew you meant overshare. That's good. I've definitely had that happen to me before, and I've had a couple of stories that have happened to me that I won't go into right now, but I quickly learned not to do that. Okay, look, we've been on this topic so long. We're already an hour in. Let's go to the next topic. So one thing that we're also revisiting is this Monique story. Now, when we left off, we had a lot of information about her son and about which was really good. We actually did a separate video about this, and we talked about the fact that she was going to be on tour with Cat Williams. So in this clip, this is actually so funny because this is the clip. This is actually Kevin on Stage's clip, because I love Kevin on Stage, and they shouted out Kevin on Stage to talk about how, hey, look, we got the ratio right because, we got all of this space. They still got a whole bunch of space.
It's better, though. It is better. I will give it
and they have visually appealing things right here, so I get it.
Oh, my God.
Oh, she got an Oscar back there and an Emmy. Okay, I see what
Let's
she's
just
doing
talk
there.
about how her face is. I don't know what she has on her face, but that joke is glowing. I don't know if she put something on. I think she mentioned something in the video.
I was thinking that might be highlighted, but she doesn't look like she has on makeup. It might just be like
she mentioned something in the video. She mentioned something. It wasn't made. It wasn't like a whatever she mentioned might have been like a facial system or whatever. I don't know, but I do feel like her skin is glowing in this job.
Yeah, man, look, she looks good. But so what we were gonna talk about is just an update about how she went on to Cat Williams. I'm gonna let you talk about this because I don't really have that much information. But she went on to the Cat Williams tour, and she was impressed by the way he did business. And then she talked about D.L. Hughley.
Yeah. So if you watched this on Instagram, I think it was last night. Maybe it was like, I think it was last night. I don't remember. It was the last couple of days. If you watch this, put what you took away from it in the comments. What I remember them saying was they shouted out Kevin on Stage about the, getting the getting the camera angle right. And then they talked about, I cannot remember what they said. They had this point of the conversation where they were like calling out people who had done them wrong, or they felt like we're not standing on business, right? And Tyler Perry's name was in that, obviously. But they said that Cat Williams, they wanted to talk about how it was to do business with him. And Sydney was saying how when they wanted her to get on the tour, him and Cat had a conversation. The conversation was like 5 or 10 minutes. They sealed the deal and everything was professional. And, it has been since she joined the tour. So they wanted to give him props. So that was kind of cool to hear them say that. Oh, and to talk about her son, I told you he has a podcast on TikTok, and he's been consistently going live. Okay.
Okay.
I don't watch him, but I see his notifications all the time, and I just be like, okay. So, like I said, I don't know. That could have been something that just to get it in the media cycle, and then, you take it and run from here. But other than that, she was promoting the tour. They're gonna wherever they're gonna be. I think they're gonna be in Louisiana and Texas this weekend. Um, but yeah, I didn't really I didn't really retain anything from it. I don't know why, but that was the main thing that I got from it. But I know she called DL Hughley, not straight, and she talked about how he blamed her for the thing with his daughter, and stuff like that. So some of it was, they weren't angry and mad. They did get a little tiny bit emotional together when they were talking about how they felt about some people or whatever. But it was kind of just more of the same, about how they're going to be going forward and holding people accountable, and we love us for real.
I get it. And everybody has to be themselves. I do agree that people should be held accountable for things, but at some point I think it is of detriment to be chasing someone else's actions, right? Like you want to react. Like one of the things that me and you used to talk about a lot with conversations with some of our family members is like, it's not your responsibility to get them to understand, right? Like once you get to the point where you can clearly communicate your sort of ask boundary requirement, then you go beyond into a land of seeking out frustration. And I'm not saying that she should stop. I mean, like, she has to do what she has to do. I don't have any advice for her. She obviously is doing well. Like, she, you see those Oscars and stuff in the background. Like, she's got it together. She's hilarious and obviously very intelligent. But I do think, like I like where she's going with the whole entrepreneurial bit. I think leading by example is the best way to do it, and that's what she's doing by linking up with people like Cat Williams. They're on tour, they're doing business. And so I don't know how, I mean, look, she might be onto something here, because there's a lot of stuff that she talked about years ago and now it's coming out, and when somebody else says it, and then now we're able to point back to like, oh, Monique used to say that. So it's like somebody else has to kind of like validate it. But I don't know. I feel like I'm supportive of her and I want to see her do well. I would say, like at a certain point, you have to just move on and just not worry about what happened in the past, right? But that's my advice. She can do whatever she wants to do, and she's doing great. And she obviously has a lot of experience, and she's hilarious. I'm just looking at her face right now, and I know she's saying something funny.
Whatever. Yeah, I mean, it was not a bad thing I listened to the whole thing, but like I said, I must have been doing something else at the same time because I can't remember. I know she said something about working out too. But yeah, shout out to her because I've been seeing her videos, and like I always kind of swing it back to working out. But this is just for somebody who needs to hear this or whatever, right? Like, you're going to go through like ebbs and flows, right? And I just want to shout out her because you're not going to always be like, oh, I worked out perfectly this week 3 times, 4, whatever. And she sticks with it. Like, even though, I don't like how people be like, oh, well, you've been doing this and you're not in shape yet. Like, healthy doesn't mean skinny. You know what I'm saying? And strength doesn't have a look either. Like, you don't know what that person's body is going through or whatever. So, shout out to her because she's still showing up to the fitness classes, and even though she might not do it all the time, she still gets back up and tries again. You know what I mean? So I gotta shout her out for that.
Yeah, and it's better than being sedentary.
And it's hard when you get older. Like, I can only imagine how, if I feel the way I feel at my age, I can only imagine how less energy she has. You know what I mean?
I mean, she be having all the energy when she be on stage.
Yeah,
she be
because that's like she loves something you love to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Listen, I understand it because I used to be a person who dreaded any type of workout because I looked at it as torture. I looked at it as something unfun, something just I didn't look at it as something that was gonna do something good for my body, and like I can make it look how I want to look. Like, I don't like I said, I don't believe in long extreme workouts. Now, have I done 50-minute workouts and stuff? Yeah. Will I do one again? Yeah, probably so. But for the most part, I just keep a regular 30-minute routine, and that doesn't even look like it looks like how I want it to look. You know what I'm saying? If it takes like I said, I'm not going to get all the way into that. But once you start looking at it as you make it what you want it, you celebrate the shit that you're doing, and you stop focusing on like what other people are saying or doing. That's like a theme here. Then you will start to just fall into it, like, because it doesn't have to be like difficult. It's just all in how you see it. Because I saw it as just something that just was unsavory. It was ghetto. I don't know, but but now I look at it a lot differently. You know what I mean? So anyway,
I was just thinking about
shout out to her.
Shout out to her, the power of public. So, like when we talked about her having all the energy on stage,
Did he just make a thumbs come up?
he didn't mean to do that. They've been
that was
doing that. I've
theirs. I
seen
was
that.
like, wait, what
No,
happened?
it wasn't us, because it would have been on our screen.
That was their screen. Okay,
But you know what? Look, the power of like public, like when you're on stage and you're getting the energy from other people, it feeds you. It's so interesting because I laughed because I was like, I wouldn't have all the energy she has on stage, but I do. When I go to karaoke, it's so funny because I just went to karaoke a little while back with my coworkers. And you know how you pick a song and you regret it? You're like, I didn't realize it took so much to do this song. But like, I'll keep it together because I'm entertaining. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm going to do the dances. I'm going to do the singing. I'm going to take a breath and I'm going to keep on going. And it's just like this second wind of energy that's like, oh, I got to perform because people are cheering and we're having a good time. And you know what I mean?
It really is about your energy and keeping going.
And you know that led me to, what I'm laughing at. I'm like, maybe I should start going to work out in the park or near the metro where people can see me, and then I'll keep doing it because it's like I don't want people to see me stop working out until the workout's done. But anyway,
no, I'm telling you, all you got to do is just look at it differently. Like I said, my workout days are Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And if of course, I miss it. I miss it a lot. Like, but what I do is I just have a backup plan for when I don't work out, and that backup plan is something way less strenuous than working out, but it still also counts as me working out. And it kind of registers in my brain. We didn't skip workout. We did this today. We worked out. You know what I'm saying? Even though I know in my mind I didn't do my full regimen, I did enough so that my body keeps up the habit and realizes that we did what we were supposed to do. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can't expect to go and like, have the same kind of energy every single day or whatever. Like, but what you can do is just keep going. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's not going to be pretty. Sometimes it's not going to be, sometimes you're going to have great days, but it's like, you have to, like I said, I just found stuff that doesn't feel like unsavory to just keep me consistent.
Yeah.
And now it's just like, it's just about just, monitoring what I'm doing. Like, as far as like, what am I doing? These 2 months right now, I'm working on calisthenics, right? I'm doing stuff with calisthenics, and then I'll change it in 2 more months, but it's nothing extreme. It's not crazy. It's just little things to make me keep a habit, because the habit, like I said,
habit is what it is.
Versus, if you did like 5 or 10 minutes every day, that would be better than doing nothing. But what we do is we don't do anything because we don't want to do the 60 minutes.
Yeah. And there's value. There's the value is in keeping the habit. Let me read this comment because this is funny. On Spot Live said, I was at an inspection today and did 15 flights of stairs. So yeah, we're counting that. That was a workout.
That absolutely counts. Because like I say, I'm working out so that I can, jog up a couple stairs if I need to. If somebody's chasing me, carry my grocery bags, have balance and bend and reach, right? So that running upstairs, or not running upstairs, but like going those 15 flights of stairs, she worked all her muscles. She worked her muscles. You know what I mean? Everything counts. Like, it's just all in how you look at it. It's all in how you look at it. But anyway, I keep getting back up there.
No, that's okay. Hey, listen, that's who you are. I love it. That's who you are. And look at what you're talking about. You're not talking about something negative. You're talking about something that's life-giving. So I think go back to it every time you can, because that's what you're here to do.
Okay, so the last thing I'll say is that people think it's very hard, and I want them to overcome that by finding something easy and just committing to do 5 minutes of it. All right, bye.
Finding something easy and committing to do 5 minutes of it. That's the advice that I will give to our next topic. Yo, I be coming up with these segues, okay, people? Our old friend Xylon, okay, has made his rounds on the internet this past week, related to him believing that the Dave Chappelle skit of him from Diddy's Making the Band prevented his music career from taking off. And this is someone who has a different viewpoint on things. I listened to this whole thing and I wasted that whole 5 minutes of my life. I don't know if you saw this. If you didn't, I could definitely let me just tell you what it was about. Okay. He goes out here to say that like the making of the band experience was fine or whatever, but it was the spoof that Dave Chappelle did that prevented him. So when the show ended, he was able to do music. But then once the skit came out, then people stopped booking him, and he would send his music to DJs, and they would be like, "Oh, that's the Dylon guy." He's talking about the fact that there's people the skit that Dave Chappelle's show did put him in a like it said things that he never said, like I spit hot fire and Dylon, like that doesn't matter. And I think it's
he
really
didn't say that.
Well, he's saying that he didn't say that. I actually didn't go back to check because guess what? The only reason I even remembered him was because of the Dave Chappelle skit. Okay, I remember watching that I remember watching that season of Making the Band, and outside of like I think they was the one that walked to get the cheesecake, but it might have been somebody else. The best part of that was like I think it was Babs. I really liked her, and I liked the young dude from Louisiana, but I still haven't purchased any of their music. Like I probably purchased their single when it came out, but I've never looked for Dylon, not a day in my life. Now, if we talking about Danity Kane or Day 26, I'm a super fan. Okay, now that's a whole different situation.
I thought he said Dylon things.
I don't know if he ever said that, but guess what? I don't remember anything you ever said, sir, and that's the point. Like, I think he needs to really back and think about the fact that, like, the only reason we know who he is for real, like, is because he did Making the Band, but we don't remember you from Making the Band. We more so remember you for being made fun of by Dave Chappelle. So if anything, you should have took that and ran with it and been, and like laughed about that. Like, look at all the people who he did make fun of, who aren't out here on the internet talking about Dave Chappelle ruined my career. You know what I'm saying? Look at Dave Chappelle. He's not saying he ruined his own career, right? It's just like there's certain things that you just have to take on the chin. One of them we're going to get to later, but it's like, dude, you are blaming the wrong person. You're not looking in the mirror. He said at one point in this little clip that he came home and there was just no food in the fridge and no one will purchase his music. Well, sir, it's time to find another way to make money. And you can still make music if that's your passion, but if your passion isn't bringing in money, then you need to figure something else out if you have a child. So it's like, that's not Dave Chappelle's fault that you can figure that out. And I mean, obviously, look.
Yeah, and that's not Dave Chappelle's fault anyway, unless they thought that Dave Chappelle was actually him. Like, I don't get that part.
I think we need to really start looking at how we can be productive and uply mobile. Look, this man's skin look better than Monique's. He needs to be focused on other things. Like, obviously, he has other talents. He can do other things. And the fact that he's sitting here talking about somebody who made his name more famous, ruined his career, is just a little bit odd to me. I mean,
well, I mean, there's also the other aspect of, if I mention him and then somebody posted like the Jasmine brand, right, is a big platform, and now everybody's talking about me. So maybe that was, it's sad that we got to keep looking at that angle on stuff when stuff happens in the world or whatever. But that could be a possibility too. Maybe he spoke on it so that people would start talking about it, even though we're just, most people are probably saying the same thing that we're saying.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, more power to him. I still don't want him to be down and out. Like, he can figure this out, though. I just don't let this stop you, Dylon. Don't let this be the last thing we hear about you, okay, buddy? That's all I'm saying.
I didn't want his butt on the way out.
Yeah. All right, Bucko. I saw a clip this week that was so disrespectful. The man was talking to his manager, and the manager was like, well, actually, it was a message. It was a voicemail this man was listening to from his manager saying, like, we really needed you. We had all these catering orders, and I know apparently you broke your wrist. And the man is standing there with the phone with, you can see the pink cast. So he obviously did break his wrist. But he was like, allegedly you broke your wrist, but we really needed you. And we just want to let you know that, it's it was all hands on deck type of day, and we really need you to come through. And I was like, this man who left this message is going to feel so stupid when this other dude comes in to get his check and he has a cast on his arm, and you done accused him of calling out erroneous, like like lying about calling out. All right, look, here's somebody who's having a great week this week and a great time in life. I love this girl. Her name is Money Long. Actually, I thought it was Mooney Long, right? But she's the one that sang Hours and Hours. And she also has a song out now that's going viral on TikTok. Nobody loves me like it, right? Okay, so she's really fun. So I listened to this.
Yeah, that was tight.
Did you see this freestyle? Yeah. And you know who she is, right?
Yeah. I love that song that she has. I love all of her songs so far, whatever, but she's actually going to be on tour with Chris Brown. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Do you remember this person?
She does look familiar.
Priscilla Renee. That's Money Long. And what's funny is,
serious?
Yes, and we used to watch her on YouTube like in 2012 or 2013, and she was like right around the time when Don Nicole was out, and she used to sing. I mean, she doesn't sing like she used to sing, but I think, I'm sure her voice is still there. But I just remember being so impressed with her, the way she would do covers. And she obviously was younger back then. She looks a little different now. She still looks good, but I think she may have somebody said she may have gotten a nose job or something. I don't know.
That was so long ago. I wish I could remember all the people that I used to follow back then or whatever to see if they still got pages to see what they're doing.
I will bet you
names though.
I will bet you that you could probably go back and find some of her old videos, because I'm going to go looking for it actually. But I think she did like a Alicia Keys cover that we really liked. And she was doing covers back when people were really on the internet doing covers.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, okay, so I follow so many people now, but there were certain people that we used to watch, but I can't remember their names. And even if I go through my subscriber list, like my list of pages that I'm subscribed to, is no telling that I'm going to remember who the person is. You feel what I'm saying? So I used to follow this girl. She did natural hair, and I can't remember. I just know her name had boring in it, but I don't remember what her name was. And I was thinking about that a couple of days ago. I was like, I wonder what she's doing, but I can't find it now. So I'm like, anyway, I'm looking up her because I do remember that picture.
Yes. Okay. We're going to have to talk more about that, because I think I was telling y'all that the last time you were over here, maybe for Christmas. And I was like, you don't remember this person? And I was like, you know who sings Hours and Hours? And I don't know if it was early, like, oh no, I don't know what you're talking about. But I was like, oh my God. But anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to definitely look into that.
I think this is her. Okay. She has 2 pages. She has her Money Long page, and she has Priscilla Renee, right? And I went to the page and went back to old, like obviously she got old stuff on here. She got stuff from 16 years ago, 6 years ago, 12 years ago, 14 years ago. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna listen to this when I get off. But yeah, that is so wild.
So dope. But she talked about how, I saw her in another interview talking about how she put her dues in. She wrote songs for all these different people. This is one of those people who belong in music because they really took the long road. She ghost wrote, you know what I'm saying? Not ghost wrote, but she wrote songs for people. And then when she tried to call in favors for those people, they weren't answering their phone. And so I think she's so good. And like, even this freestyle, this was a freestyle, but it could have easily been like a song that's on the radio or on the internet. Go ahead.
She sang the dictionary. That's how we remember her, I think, because she had a video on there where she sang the dictionary.
Okay, she was so good. I mean, she still is so good. I don't want to say that, but I think over years you kind of refine yourself and you find yourself, and it seems like she's so comfortable in her skin. And I think that the way that she's able to do this freestyle just lets you know how she is with her artistry. Okay, I have to say this, even though this is not what we're talking about. James and I had a really good conversation earlier about, if the goal is this, then if the practice, okay, if the goal is this, then what's the practice, right? So then we had an analogy about basketball. It's like you think about Kobe Bryant and how much of a champion he was, and people just think, oh, he's just that good. He's just that talented that he can walk out and he's going to win a championship for you because he's just so talented. And while that is, perhaps a little true, well, actually, I don't know that was true. I think what was happening is that he focused on the fundamentals and form and repetition. And so now that's going to put you in a category where you can outlast and you can outperform, because the probability that you're going to make the shot is a greater probability because you have muscle memory on how to make the shot. Same with what's his name? Why can't I remember? King James, right? Same with LeBron James. He can do certain things within basketball because, sure, he's a big dude and he has a lot of speed and he has a lot of, power, but also it's his training. And I think what we fail to realize sometimes, not me and you, but just like as human beings, is that it's about your practice and it's about your form. So if you have something in your mind that you want to succeed at, you got to figure out what's the form and what's the practice, right? And so we were talking about basketball and he was like, I need to practice patience. And I was like, what does that look like? And I was like, okay, tell me what impatience looks like. Impatience looks like, putting your hands up like, I don't have time for this. Impatience looks like, I don't want to sit in this traffic. Impatience looks like, oh, this person is, annoying me. Patience probably looks something a little calmer. It looks like folded hands, and it looks like a mantra to yourself, like, time is not all about me. You know what I'm saying? It looks like what does the practice of patience look like? And I was like, define that for yourself. If good form and shooting a ball looks a certain way, like you have to have your hand like this and your thing like this, and you have to think like this, and you have to do that repetitiously, then what does consistency and practice look like in having patience? What does consistency and practice look like in having success in YouTube? What does that look like in having success as an entrepreneur, right? So those are the things I was like, let's draw some analogies there, right? So I'm sorry, were you going to say something?
No, I was trying to stop him from barking.
Oh, cool. All right, look. So I'm going to move on to the next topic, guys. We're going to roll right through because we have a lot of topics and we're going to try to hit them all. This is another Kev on Stage clip. Obviously, I'm a Kev on Stage fan. I said that a couple of weeks ago. Kev on Stage, I want to play this clip so that we can hear it because he's reacting to a Ty Tribbett clip and then he's giving his opinion of it. And I think it's really interesting that we hear the entire thing, including Kev's commentary, because this is something as, collectively as the internet, as the Black internet, we need to be on the same page about this. So I'm going to start it from the beginning.
Second clip, and then I'm going to tell you what I think.
I think it's a system now. Oh, God. It's a system. Everything is a system, and systems work with or without God. So I think the institution of church is whack. I think how church is ran is whack. I think the religious system and structure is whack. I don't subscribe to it, even though I grew up in it. I benefited from it, but I learned that God is not the church.
All right. I'll tell you right now, this is not a trick to get you to watch Churchy on BET Plus. This is not really the time for that. I'm not going to do no promo of that right now. That's just not the time. What I want to say is this. If you disagree with Ty, and I believe you can disagree with him on social media. This is posted on social media. You can have the conversation in full. I just hope you disagree with what he actually said in this clip. The institution of the church is whack. The system of the church is whack. And the way the church is ran is whack. If you disagree with him, your disagreement should say the institution of the church is actually good. The way churches ran is good. And the systems of the church are good. But the majority of the disagreements I've seen are the church ain't whack. Well, he didn't say that. He's critiquing the institution, which is separate from the body, right? So if you disagree with him, right, you got to disagree with what he said and not what he didn't say. And I've seen a lot of comments like, well, how you going to say that when you were pastor in the church and you benefited from that? He literally said that in that video. This isn't even a video where you got to see the whole interview. People are disagreeing with what they actually heard in the clip. Not the whole interview. The actual thing he said clearly, you said the church is whack. He did not say that. Listen again. I forgot to add this. A person who benefits from a system who still critiques it usually has a valid critique because they actually have something to lose by what they're saying. A person who has nothing to lose, they can critique anything because it doesn't really affect them. And here's the thing that I want to say too. A lot of what people are saying, well, how you going to disagree when you're a pastor, feels like how you going to disagree with America and you live here. You can pick something you love. You can want something that you love and that's very important to you. It matters so much. You disagree, and your disagreement is because you want to see it better. Okay, what he was saying is a lot of times pastors are not called. A lot of times churches are family business, so they're just passed down. The person who's in charge isn't the right person. They're just the person that was next in line. Okay? Do you disagree with that? Okay. And yes, he's talking generally. And a lot of times people be like, well, this my church specific. Well, you know he's making a generalization. He's talking about the church system, institution, the way it's ran generally, not specifically. And I also want to say this. If you don't go to church, a lot of times people are like, this is why I don't go to church. Whatever type of church you want to go to exists. If you want a very legalistic church, it exists. You want a free church, it exists. You want to wear jean skirts, they exist. You want to wear pants and have tattoos, that exists. You want good online, it exists. You want a humongous mega church, it exists. You want the pastor to know your name and there's 10, 15 people there, it exists. They all exist. A lot of times people's complaints are about the few churches that are very popular. Oh, TD Jakes, Transformation, Steve Furtick, those are 3 churches. Mega churches don't even make up 5% of the overall churches in America. The majority of churches, 90, 95%, have less than 100 members. So that type of church exists, whatever you want. So if you don't go, then just say you don't go. But it ain't because the type of church you want don't exist. All right? Now go watch church. I want you to watch.
I thought that was so funny. Okay, your reaction.
I agree with Ty. I agree with Kevin. I thought Kev was on point with comparing it to how it's like, you know, you're talking about America, but you live in America. You know what I'm saying? Saying that you can't critique America because you live in America. I think that people don't really realize that it is a system kind of thing, you know, and God is, just because you build a building doesn't mean that like that's the only place God is. You know what I mean? So. Yep. So I agree with that. And I mean, I thought coming from Ty Tribbett that it was interesting that he would actually express his real feelings on that. So shout out to him.
Absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and just double down on what you said. I want to point out a couple of things. Number one, I liked what you said about the America thing. That's really true. Another thing is like just the overarching point that he made in the beginning. When people react to something and they don't hear what the person is saying, like when you react to something is one thing, but if you disagree with what somebody is saying, I think you should, you owe the people who you're talking to the courtesy of listening to what you just heard, because when they go back and hear it, you know what I mean, like it has to match up. Like he didn't say the things that people are saying he said. And I saw the same comments that he was talking about, or some similar comments. I don't know if I saw the exact same comments, but it's like, people want to argue the point without listening to the fact that he said he did benefit from that. And it was probably something that he knew was going to be a little controversial, because he had that point where he was like, oh God, where it was like something was coming over him to say it. But I feel like, we owe it to people to listen to what they have to say especially if we're gonna disagree with them, because now
why are you even talking otherwise?
Right. And now you're misrepresenting what somebody's saying. You're arguing against a point that doesn't exist. You know what I'm saying?
That's the scary thing about communication in the world we live in. I was talking to you about this earlier. Like, a group of people can hear the same thing, and you can only walk away with your level of understanding. You know what I'm saying? And then because, you're not going back like, how did you see that? And what did you get from that? And you're not having these, like, we're not going to have these conversations with everybody in church with us, right? You don't know what people are like grasping. And so that's a great point, because people do that to videos. People will listen to the video. In the video, the people will say exactly what they said they were going to say in the title. And then here you got somebody in the comments talking about, this is clickbait. You didn't blah, blah, blah. Well, you didn't watch the video. You know what I'm saying? So why are you even talking? So it's like, yeah, if you're going to disagree with something, why not have the part that you disagree with on the silver platter instead of just saying, I disagree because of something that's not even what he said. So, that's just scary. And this is a scary thing, because, I was telling you earlier, we work with people, all types of different people, and we could all go to the same meeting and everybody thinks that just because they had head nods that everybody's on the same plane, that somebody's walking around about to fuck the project up because they don't really understand what's going on.
Oh my God. And I know persons in meetings sometimes when I'm doing other, especially now that we're remote, it's like I'm doing other things. Sometimes we go to meetings and people are like I'll zoom back in, or I'll tune back in when they're like, okay, so we all agree. Okay, moving on. And I'm like, okay, I guess we all agree. Don't know what the hell we were talking about. But sometimes, it's one of those things where, yeah, people aren't necessarily paying attention. And this is dangerous, especially with this specific topic, because obviously some people are going to have their own specific, ideas about church, and people have all types of things about church. But there's the one thing that I've resonated with. He said, Todd Tribbett said a lot in that clip, and I see some other people, pastors, who were reacting to it in ways, and I'm like, how can you disagree with him? Because it's in the Bible. So one of the things that he was saying is that the church is not like the building and the structure of like the process of having a church. It's more than that. It's the people in the church. So like if the building burned down, you could take your church elsewhere, or you could take the people in the church and put them on a bus and go somewhere else, and that's the church. And so that's what he was saying. He's saying that, and I mean, I'm not even going to speak for him. We could go back and look at the clips, but I think that it's something that people could, at least have an open mind to, because he's saying something that a lot of people agree with. So even if you disagree with it, you probably know somebody or attend church with somebody perhaps that agrees with him. So I also find it very interesting that people are so apt to just like shut people down and say that's not right, and it's like, well, what if I think it's right? So are you just ready to shut me down? You don't want to hear anything I have to say, so it's got to be whatever your understanding is, or we can't have a conversation. And that's the problem. That's exactly what he's talking about. And inside of that, any pastor, this is what is really interesting to me. Any pastor who would disagree with this, I would question not even necessarily their motives, but like I would question what they're working on, because how could they disagree? In the Bible, there were like a few temples, but most of the stories are about people who were praising God outside. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't the church. It certainly wasn't the church that we're used to today. Somebody, I think it was TD Jakes, was like, when Jesus comes back, if Jesus came to church with us, we would have to teach him how to do church, because that was not what he was doing. He was out here helping people, healing people, and we're called to imitate God. We're called to love people and to follow his precepts. And so that doesn't have anything to do with like putting on a nice dress and hat and walking in and being sat in a pew and being given I get what he's saying. And if you're too focused on the system going right and you're not focused on the hearts and the minds of the people, whether they are being healed and whether they're okay, right? It's like, I always kind of look at church and hospitals in a similar way, but it's just different things. Like one is for the physical body and one is for the inside of you. And if you're not examining in a way, you know what I'm saying? Like, and this is like shoulder to shoulder too. It's not all about pastors. It's like, if you're attending church and you don't care about the other people in your church, then you should take a look at yourself. It's not like you have to go and talk to everybody, but it's like, we're so transactional these days. Like we just want to go and get what we want. And then we don't really care about all the other people. And that's not what, that's not what's in the Bible. That's all I'll say. I don't tell people how to live their lives, but I would just implore those people to like really take a good look at their Bible and see what that thing says. So that's all. And I don't want to.
Everybody can't be the good guy. So
for sure,
the people who are gonna come out real hard about how wrong Todd Tribbett is, I mean, somebody has to play the villain role. You know what I'm saying?
And I get that people are offended. One man was
because you're talking about words. Everybody is like I said, you can only walk away with your own level of understanding. Like you said it earlier, you can't. It's not your job to help them understand, right? But everybody's walking around with different levels of understanding. So it matters how well you communicate to try to get an understanding. Because a lot of people will just argue with just the fact that there's something to disagree with.
The surface, yeah. And another thing is, I do want to say this because I'm not trying to dismiss anybody who disagrees. That's a valid viewpoint as well. And there's always a valid viewpoint. Like, I'm not saying that somebody can't disagree with this. I'm saying that, I would examine further to what he's saying and maybe even have a larger conversation around it. So I'm not saying that if you disagree with him, you're wrong, but I'm saying that it's not a shut down and move on type of thing. It's a, hey, well, let's discuss it, right? Discuss it with your loved ones. Discuss it with the people in your church if you go to church. Discuss it with the people who don't, who discuss it with anybody. Discuss it with other people is all I'm saying. Like,
well, if you don't really have discussions, that's not an option. Either I understand what you're saying or I don't. And a lot of people might not even have that much depth to even go that far into that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just feel like it's going to be an opposition to it. But what he said made complete sense to me.
Yeah. And it's like, it's fine to be a person who goes to church and you're getting what you're needing out of there. I don't want to, I'm not backtracking, but I just want to clarify that it's fine if you go to church and for whatever reason you go to church, you're going to church. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And even if I did, who cares? Like, I'm just one lady on the internet. But I also feel like there's value in hearing the other side. And perhaps there's something that that resonates with other people that you might know. One man that I saw sort of like disagree with this was saying that he's turning people away from the church, and people who might have come to church are now not going to come because he said this. And if that happens, then it's not like it's okay. So this is a good point too. It's not like you have to go to church in order to be saved and get into heaven. That's not the requirement, everybody. So that's another thing. And so, whatever someone's motives are for getting someone into the church, into a good church, I would think they would be to save their soul or to get them to serve the body of Christ. But that doesn't necessarily mean going to church. You could actually be out here in the world following God's laws and precepts and being a good person, and you're just fine. You don't have to belong to someone's church. I mean, it's comforting to belong to a church if that's what you want, and that's good. I mean, I belong to a church, but I'm just saying that, like, I'm not less of a Christian if I don't go to church or whatever your faith is. So that's that. We're going to leave that there. Oh, I got a little mocktail. Thank you very much. From the
nice.
Okay, so let's move on to the next topic because we got a few more. I don't know how many of these we're going to get through.
Yeah, because I'm about to heat up my jerk chicken. And sister's getting hungry.
Okay, heard. Well, we're going to wrap it up soon. But I want to tell you that some people that are probably shaking in their boots because this Freaknik documentary it's upon us, people. So
when does it come out?
It comes out on March 21st. It's going to be aired on Hulu. And the documentary is out here. And I know somebody's mama and cousin is in this, and they're like, oh my God, I cannot. And maybe even somebody's grandmama. But I remember when I went to Atlanta, Freaknik had just been canceled. So I'm not in any of these videos, people.
I'm not in any of them either. I wanted to go, but didn't get to go. So
yeah, they wouldn't let us off campus. And it was part of it because I was hearing horror stories, not horror stories, but like apparently people were out there, doing this. And I think it was I never went, but what I would say is like, it was probably a lot of fun because these are all kind of like college age. You're not necessarily in college, but there's a lot of colleges in Atlanta, in Georgia, I will say. And to have a whole bunch of Black people like that at a festival like thing, and to have our music blasting, and it wasn't anything like that. It was huge, and it was hot Atlanta, okay? And it's like all of these young Black people, all of these celebrities. You see the Greeks, you see all the parties. I'm sure it was a great time. But what I heard about it and why it was shut down is because there was some level of violence, and there was like public acts of indecency. Like, we can see some of that, but apparently people would just be having sex out in the park. Like, just like, oh, they're over there having sex. And like, you can't just be walking your dog and, and be seeing that, or having your children
I heard a lot of stories about me.
Listen, I'm not saying I'm sad I missed it. If it were if it were still a thing when I went down there, I certainly would have gone down there to see what was happening.
Well, yeah, because I must not have. Your mother must have had something to do with that too. I don't remember the reason why I never went, but I do remember people talking about it, and I remember the story. So I can't wait to see the documentary to see if I can see some familiar faces.
So, okay, I think we're gonna save some of these topics for next week. I did want to talk about this one last thing, and then I'll let you, because I don't want you to. I'm kind of getting hungry too, but you know, we're not going to talk about this, but next week I'm just going to tease this real quick. I want to talk about the Cat Williams on Joe Rogan, and I want to talk about Will Smith sitting down with the original Viv, Janet Hubert. But for now, let's end with this, because I heard about Nature Boy and about how he was a cult leader and he had done all these things. And I think at one point you had shared some videos with me of like what they were doing out in the wilderness or whatever. And it was very weird. And I remember thinking at the time, how's he getting away with this? But it wasn't in America. So I think that's probably how it was. But do you want to talk about this and shed some light?
So yeah, I don't know how I stumbled across it. It must have been when I started. Well, I went on a cruise and I was looking for stuff to watch on YouTube, and I found Tasha K. I found Armand Wiggins, and then once you start finding people that talk about each other, you'll start getting other names to go watch. And so that's how it happened. And then I must have ran across somebody who was talking about Nature Boy, and I was like, "Where's Nature Boy?" But he was from New York, and he like packed up all this stuff. He had videos and everything about how he's about to go live in nature and stuff like that. And so he did. And I came in on the part where they were already in like they were out of the country, and he had like, you know, a couple women over there, some men over there. They were just walking around almost not clothed, and he was like directing them, and like sometimes it would be videos of, you know, him humiliating them with, you know, in some type of situation where they're being humiliated, whatever. But these people would like give him their money to join. You know what I'm saying? You would even be able to see the Instagram lives that he would do, where he would actually be recruiting people, and people would be getting on there trying to, you know, ask what they could do to come out there or whatever. And then you get the people out there, and then just, you know, a lot of people came and left, and it was just so many different situations that were recorded. You know what I mean? And then it just got worse and worse and worse and worse. They like you know, he had two of his wives fighting each other. One of them bit the other one's breast. It was a bunch of stuff that went down, and I know a lot of people. If it's anybody in the comments that watched it, like, you know that it was a lot of stuff that he did that he should have got in trouble for. You know what I mean? But he most recently, he's been in jail for 2 years because one of the women that were, I guess she wanted to be one of his wives, but he would put the women with other, you know, he would take the women for himself, and then he would tell them, oh, now you can go be with this person, go be with that person. It was just really a lot of craziness going on. But he got locked up because one of the women that left 2 years ago, like, she ended up pressing charges and accusing him of rape and posting revenge porn. And so it was kind of like they had arrested him a bunch of times, but he was out when he was out of the country. They would get arrested and then get let go and stuff, because he would go to these different countries and stuff. And like the citizens sometimes would be like, oh, you know, we're not having it. When he went to Hawaii, they went to Hawaii when COVID hit, right? And Hawaii had like a quarantine rule that if you came into Hawaii, that you had to quarantine before you could come out and be, you know, around around Hawaii. And so, and they knew he was there and stuff. And like some of the men like got on his Instagram live and talked to him, like, you know, try to like set the record straight, like what he wasn't going to do out there. Right. Because they were just breaking the quarantine rules or whatever. But anyway, they got locked up a bunch of times, and then they just got let go. But this time he got locked up. He came back to the States, and they were living, I think, in Atlanta somewhere. And the neighbors were probably calling about the strange stuff they were seeing. I think the call was something like they saw somebody being abused or something. I don't know. But it probably was him, you know. Who knows? It was a lot of stuff happening. But he was just convincing these people to give him money. Like some of them gave him like $30,000 to $2,000, all of their whatever they had. And then a couple of his wives left him and came back. Like, it's just a whole, you know, crazy thing, because he ended up having a kid with, I think he had a kid with more than one of them, but the main one that he had a child with, she ended up leaving for good. And then she testified against him this go around. So finally he got locked up for that. So they were trying to prove that. And the thing about court is just because we saw all of these messed up things happen in front of our eyes, right? We know what kind of person that he was from all of the things that we were able to see. The trial was about this one specific incident, one specific night with this one specific person.
Right.
And so it was like, you would, in your mind, you're like, oh my God, they got to bring up this, he did this, he did that, he did that. But none of that matters if it's not relevant to that one thing, right? So that was the interesting part about it. The other interesting part about it is that they didn't really like air it. Like they're airing the YSL guy is a young thug. They're airing his trial, right? And so they were airing this trial for Nationwide, but then they like cut the cameras off, I guess because of the sensitivity of what the charges were for. So you couldn't like really even see some of the witnesses that were talking, but we knew who it was because we knew their voices or whatever. But he still has cult members that came in. He has 3 wives right now that remain, and bless their hearts because they are, trying to do an appeal for him now. And they're like really still like drinking the Kool-Aid. They went live on Instagram and you could see the earbud in her ear. You could hear him talking and she was just repeating what he was saying. But yeah, so his I know I'm gonna cut this short after this.
I have some questions.
His attorney was trying his best. I have to imagine that he, doesn't, it's hard to defend somebody who is accused of something like that. And then the things that came out and stuff, and how, it's just like he knew he was being looked at as a douchebag for even representing this dude, right? But he was like, he really was, I guess, doing the best that he could with trying to catch the witnesses up, right? That was his only defense. Like, let me just poke holes in their story. The other side had okay questions, but I thought so much more was going to come into play. But he was very disrespectful. The judge caught COVID, and I guess she asked the people who were there whether they want to continue, and everybody but him said no, right? So he was like thinking I guess she was going to stop the trial, and she was like, well, you can go back to jail. Your attorney will be here to represent you, but he tried to fire his attorney. So she was like, your choice is represent yourself or keep your attorney. He ended up keeping the attorney, but he wanted to stop pause the trial while she had COVID. So she did it for 2 days, and then she resumed. Like, you can go to work with COVID now, apparently. Like, you not because of this case, but after a certain number of days,
it's not
transmissible. You know what I'm saying? So, but anyway, he tried that. That didn't work, but it was interesting because he's supposed to not believe in no disease. So it's like, now you believe in COVID, you know what I'm saying? But let's talk about this judge because she was patient. She was kind. She was thorough. Okay. He pissed her off. And that's the main reason why he probably got life with no parole plus 10 years, because she even said she did not see him give no remorse or nothing, show no remorse or nothing like that. While she was sentencing him, he was in another courtroom trying to, like, you could tell he was trying to talk to the guards, and the guards was just looking forward or whatever. And he was in there talking about like pointing to the TV and stuff and doing stuff or whatever. She gave the man a chance to talk, and he did some old like cult leaderish, I love you, I still love you, I love you, I love you, and I'll see you in the end or whatever. So that was that. Then, like I said, his wives that are still drinking the Kool-Aid went live talking about it was a lynching or whatever. But the last thing I'll say is the lawyer on the state side that did the closing arguments, whoever that sister was, she was on point. She dotted her I's, she crossed her T's, because the defense went first. Mr. Booker was his name, his attorney's name. He went first. Obviously, he's trying to, get his client off, right? So he was like, ask them why they won't show this. When she comes up here and gives her question, her closing, ask her why she won't show you this video and this and that. He said all this stuff, and it was so clear once she came up that he only said that to try to sway the jury of, to think something that wasn't true. Because when she came up, the first thing she said was, he knows, this man over here, Mr. Booker, knows the law, and he knows that the only reason we would bring out any of those videos is if what her testimony was here today was different than what was on those tapes. So it was no point for him to say that. You know what I'm saying? But she had a bomb closing argument. She was a young Black sister. She did her thing. I gotta go back and see what her name was or whatever, but she did her thing. But yeah, so anyway, that's it in a nutshell. And if you weren't around to watch Nature Boy, like, it was the kind of thing that you didn't really want to watch, but you kind of felt like, oh my God, what if something happens to these people? You know what I'm saying? So
I want to ask you a couple of questions. Number one thing, and I remember you telling me something like this before, but I don't remember the answer. How did these people, why were they attracted to this cult? Like, I always think about that when it comes to like cults and things, like what could make you so brainwashed, right? Like, what do you think it was that was making them go there and be abused like that?
Okay, so also in this trial, you know, they call experts and stuff like that, right? So they had 2 experts. They had a domestic violence expert, and they had a expert that dealt with cults and stuff, right? And so that those 2 testimonies were interesting, you know what I mean? Because the one for domestic violence kind of explained how people could not say anything for a long time, and then all of a sudden want to talk about what happens to them or why they wouldn't tell, right? How they could stay with or still have love for him or whatever. And so it's, I mean, it is just so interesting. So on the top, when he first came out, he looked just like a dude that was all about, like, he didn't say, it's not like the things that he was saying weren't being said by other like people, right? Okay. There were some true things that he would talk about, but it just got so retarded. And so he came off like, you know, like a cool dude in the beginning. Not cool to me, but I watched him charm people, right? And then after he hooks them, then he starts his madness. You know what I'm saying? And like they tried, his defense was that they were acting. This stuff was for content and stuff like that, which, you know, one of the wives got up there and was like, well, yeah, after we saw the Chris Rock slap, you know, that kind of inspired us, in not so many words, to do stuff for shock value or whatever. And so the attorney was like, so you're aware that this stuff happened before the Chris Rock slap?
I was getting ready to say. Yeah.
But anyway, they were trying to say that he was, you know, they were characters or whatever, but I think dude probably have some mental issues where, because he was just like doing stuff that, and I just was thinking about like the mindset, you right, of what they have to be. And I think that they were going over there because they were running from their own problems, because a lot of them left their kids and stuff like that. Like he wouldn't let a lot of them bring their kids over there. And so they had to like denounce us, like the world, right? And then and they believed that he was the Messiah. That's what they believed. He went from calling himself Nation to a bunch of different names, and then eventually he just started calling himself, you know, straight up God or whatever, which was crazy in itself. But the cult, the witness they called, the expert witness they called about cults, that was very interesting because he explained how you don't have to be a certain intelligence at a certain intelligence level to get got in a cult. Like he's like, I know doctors and lawyers and all types of people, like it's a certain set of manipulative skills that gets you in the situation. And like they believed that what he was saying, you know what I'm saying? So they thought that if they did leave him, that they were disrespecting the Messiah. You know what I'm saying? Even when the girl who was pressed these charges, the thing was, she left. She called the Uber or something. She left to go outside to get in the Uber, but they told her God was calling her. Why don't she pick up? And they were talking about him. Anyway, so she went back into the house to talk to him, and he wanted to have, or there was a conversation about having sex one last time. She said no, but then she ended up saying yes. But the thing is, like, at what point she lost count of how many times she said no and just gave in. You know what I'm saying? So the judge was saying basically, with all the evidence or whatever, you've taken advantage of these groups of people. These people were broken and whatever and looking for something, and you took advantage of that. And so basically that's my answer. Like because I could not see myself doing anything like that. Like I'm not comparing myself to these people, but you know, I could see what he was doing. Like you could see it if you weren't them, you know what I'm saying? Like you could see, hear what he was saying. You knew what was gonna happen. Like he used to do all these. It was entertainment, and they were trying to act like it was entertainment. They were trying to act like they were filming a reality show and stuff like that. And they used to have like real nigga moments where he would, like, if somebody did something wrong or they had to talk about something, they would talk about it, but it would usually end up in him just kind of making some of them humiliate themselves by the shit that he would have them say or do, right?
Nobody ever tried to fight him?
I can't really remember. Maybe they bucked up a little bit at one point, but if it was come to that point, they're leaving. Like they're not, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's true.
But they would
I
fight
mean,
each
that's
other.
true.
They would fight
And
each other, but he would play them against each other to
yeah,
make them do that or whatever. So he would put them in the closets. They talked about how they really couldn't eat, and he would eat sometimes, but if he wasn't going to eat, then none of them would eat. They slept outside.
see, that's the thing that I don't understand. But you
Yeah.
know, I'm not meant to
And
understand.
they had to use the bathroom outside, even though they had it. That's what his ex-wife said. She said, the first thing that was wild to me was that I couldn't use the bathroom. She was like, we could go to the bathroom outside. That's what we use the bathroom, but he wouldn't let us use the actual bathroom. You know what I'm saying?
But he was using the bathroom?
Probably.
That's what I don't understand. But you know what? I know that their cults have existed for, you know, a long time. And I get it. I remember those people in Waco. That was the first time. I was younger then, but I remember that was the first time I had ever heard of like a cult. I was like, how did they get there? Why would they stay there with that man? And it was having to do with the same sort of thing where they thought he was godlike or something like that.
I mean, because what his process was is that he would be really nice and love bomb and get them over there, and then he would get them to you know, oh, we're all talking, trying to get to know you, spill your guts to us, right? And then in the first chance he could do, flip it. Oh, that's your trauma coming back and doing this. And then they would just get into that cycle of being like, maybe it's me, maybe I am tripping, you know.
Yeah,
whatever.
and I would imagine there was some I would imagine, I don't know this because I didn't see that part, but I would imagine there was some like peer interaction that keeps you like, you know, if everybody around you is doing something, the pressure becomes greater because it seems like you're the one that's, you know.
They would re up on that. Like if like when the girl left and she came back, well, if you left and came back, the other women would be like, you're weak and this and you know, and try to berate you and belittle you and make you feel bad. So now you're just like balled up in the corner, like, well, you know, fuck, stop. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But so it's really interesting, but like it was just really crazy. But he should be, you know, a lot of people were like he shouldn't get life or whatever, but I mean, I don't know. I look up shit. Okay, I like to look up shit when somebody's having a trial or something, and I don't understand something. I like to look up certain words and be like, okay, well, what does that mean? What does that mean? Because sometimes it doesn't. You know, you think you know something and you don't really know. But I looked it up and found out that in Georgia, there's like a 25-year sentence for rape. So he should have taken the deal that they were trying to give him in the beginning, but he was so dead set on thinking that he was God and wasn't going to get caught. He got, you know, I feel like he was still in shock when that verdict was read because I feel like he thought he was gonna get off, but life plus 10 years. But I guarantee you that there will be news of whatever cult he's working on inside of the fucking jail.
That's what I was gonna say next.
Here's what happens in my mind, right? There are still people lost. There are still people who look up to him. There's still people who admire what he did. There's a couple of people who are kind of like him. They're just not as, you know, vicious as he was online. You know what I mean? But there are a whole bunch of situations like this. But he's gonna meet these people in jail. They're not gonna have life sentences. So they'll be able to walk out free and start their own situations, right? That's how I'm looking at it. Because he really is a piece of work. And
look, here's what I was gonna get at. Isn't it possible then? Because it seems like, I mean, I'm just making him in my mind this evil character, like demon-esque type of character. And maybe he is doing this on purpose. Maybe he studied the psychology of being a cult leader. Maybe he knows this stuff because I just can't figure out how he would get people.
Oh, I think he probably did. I think he absolutely did.
Wouldn't that mean then that when he gets into jail and then he's around a population of people that he could then start a cult within the jail? And absolutely. Then, you know, there's also the possibility that someone could just beat him up or stab him or something like that. But
listen, I would hope that that's what would not stab or anything, but like I would hope that somebody goes to his body a little bit while he's in there, and just, you know what I'm saying? But something just tells me that he has a section of people that embraced him.
And was he like bisexual or anything, or he was only having
he used to be a male stripper, and then there was situations where he was talking about, you know, it's okay for this to happen, and it had to do with the same sex, and you know, he even had like a transsexual down there, and I think that he gave the transsexual permission to give all the guys head or something like that. Well, it was just a wild situation, and nobody was in control. It's like just watching it, you would be like, I cannot believe, like, this is crazy. This is crazy.
I'm looking at him like he's some sort of demon.
Oh, to add to that, yes. When I used to watch some of those videos, that, you know how the video kind of like skips sometimes or whatever. There was times when I would watch his videos or play back his videos and see something that happened. And there were moments where he actually looked like a demon. Like, you know how a glitch happens or whatever?
So, yeah, I'm just looking
like, this Batman is, but his eyebrows to me look evil anyway. But
yeah, they do. But I'm just looking at the stare on his face, like the look on his face. I'm not talking about his actual face. I'm talking about like the deadness in his eyes.
Yep.
And I feel like, you know, that I don't know this man, but it just seems like, you know, when people are absent in the eyes like that, that they, you know, they seem possessed to me, is all I'm saying.
Also, he did have like a lot of shit happen to him too. So his light probably died a long time ago. You know what I'm saying? Because both his parents died, and he went through a bunch of stuff or whatever. And I think the reason why he ended up doing that, I think he was running from something anyway. He had another child's mother that was here in the States, and she interviewed with a lot of people too. Because he had like beat her up at one point or whatever, and like this Bama just did a lot of stuff. It was just interesting that is but nobody would ever go do what they did, and so he's trying to say that the police coerced this woman into saying that he raped her, because when she left, she did an interview and she referred to it as making love, right? And but the thing is, like, it's that whole thing about domestic violence.
Yeah,
you can't really the bottom line is he should have been gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that he's locked up, because I've been hearing about him for years and years, and I could just remember like being so baffled at like, how is he getting away with this? And they were not in America, and I felt like that's how he was getting away with it.
But I would have thought that it would have been that much worse out of the country. You never want to get in trouble out of the country, because especially if you're not from there. Like, he would take people's social security cards and passports and stuff and have them, but you're still not from the country. So if you get in trouble, like, that's very dangerous. Like, and he showed his little bitch side before when they got arrested one time or whatever. But like, I would have been thinking that he would have got caught because of the shit that was going on and the reasons why he, you know, got arrested. I mean, they had babies in the woods. They had all, and it was a couple of people that left. You know what I mean? I wonder where the first wife went. Her name, I think she was calling her Nature Girl, Pocahontas or something like that. But she left and he never looked back, and nobody's heard from her. So I don't know what happened to her. But yeah, this and it was also a girl from Canada there back when they were called Melanation or something like that. It was a girl from Canada. She was a Caucasian lady. Her family was like, no, sir. I think they sent the news and everything out there. He quickly let her go. Okay. But he used to say stuff like, you know, nobody's going to care about a black girl. If anything happens, that's how he used to talk to them.
Wow.
He used to go on his thing. So he used to have like I said, he's trying to say that he was in characters, but they played this one where he was talking to some of the people in his group about like some trauma that they were having, or some situation that had happened with him and having sex with her and her husband, or her supposed to be husband that was there. And he was acting like he was a therapist and referring to himself in third person, like he wasn't talking about himself. It was just really fucking weird. I was like, dude, he should have been gone. He should have been gone.
I feel like maybe he has some sort of ability to entrance people or do something. Like he must have. I'm thinking he must have studied or understood.
I think he did study coke.
I really can't wrap my mind around how an adult would get, enticed to come somewhere else. You know,
it was a lot of people.
But I don't understand that. So I don't want to victim shame either, because obviously these are real people. They've had families, they've had babies with this man, and that's gotta be something like, just like we see Reesa Teesa kind of like talking about how she's in therapy and stuff like that. Like this has got to be far worse than that. So
now I will say that they have had some people who finally woke up. They testified against him, and I'm happy about that. You know what I'm saying? Because it was like, yeah, they finally see that this was crazy. He took advantage of their like vulnerabilities or whatever. So, but anyway,
well, look, we're gonna wrap it here, guys. But we might actually talk about this a little bit more, just depending on whether this story. I mean, like, something tells me that this is not the end of this. Even though he's gotten the sentence, something tells me that this story is going to reappear somehow. I don't know if it's the look of his eye or what, but
what would be crazy is if like, I don't think that the judge did anything wrong, but I'm pretty sure if he's going to do appeal, they're going to be looking back at whatever, right? And it would just be so fucking wild and crazy if they were like, oh,
mistrial or something.
Yeah,
like that.
Right. Like, I hope that doesn't happen or whatever. But
well, look, I'm gonna pray for those survivors, and that's all we can do. But listen, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. We have gone for 2 hours and 10 minutes. I'm so excited. We didn't even get to all of our topics, so we're going to pick back up here, which is good because we already have a handful of topics to get us started
Thanks for chilling with us all night.
Thank you so much. Oh, and I didn't read these other comments. Okay, wait. So on the spot live, this is when we were talking about Money Long. She was saying, when Black women get nose jobs, it hurts me so badly. I'm not really certain that Money Long got a nose job, but she looks different than she did. It could just be because she got older and maybe she got slimmer, or it might be contour, but it looks like she might have got a nose job. But I know I love a good fat nose, just like Beyonce said. Like, I love the original Jackson nose. Like, I thought it was so interesting. And like, remember, I think her name is Jennifer Grey. She played in Ferris Bueller's Day Off and Dirty Dancing. I think that's her name. I used to love her old nose. Her old nose made her face so interesting. And she was one of those people that I remember from movies when I was younger, that I just remember I wanted to be like her. Like, I remember she had on that pink sweater and she had those shoes and she ran up the stairs real fast in Ferris Bueller. And I just remember thinking, like, she looked so cool. Like, I want to dress like that, and I remember just liking her face and her hair. And when she got a nose job, I was like, "What?" Now she still's pretty, but I just loved her nose. Her old nose was just so interesting, and it made her face good to me. Anyway, that's just me. And then another comment is, "I'm happy for the survivors." Oh wait, this one was Blondie Monique said, "Look what happened." This is about the church. Look what happened when COVID hit. We couldn't go to the building. Exactly. And we still had church, and we still believed in God, and everybody was fine. I'm happy for the survivors. That's just to our last topic there. Many survivors don't get to see justice, and they have to go on living with that trauma for the rest of their lives. That's something that people forget. It's like they go back and they find a job.
Oh, because think about it. If something happened to you like that, and then you finally was like, "Oh, I'm not doing that no more." You had the video evidence online to remind.
It's a lot.
You how like messed up that situation was. Like, though, I can't even think of anything specific right off the top of my head that was like the wildest thing that I seen them do. But I remember the time that he would get the women to try to feel like they need to compete to be his wife, right? And then he'd be like, "Oh, you're not doing this like her," or whatever. And then he would it was nobody there to stop him from egging them on. You know what I'm saying? And he got them to fight one time, and you could tell that one of them really ain't want to fight, and she got fucked up.
In the fight. That's so sad.
Yeah, lip was busted. They was fighting on the beach. She was getting slung around. She got her breast bit really good.
Hey, that's so sad.
It was like savage. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, and then afterwards he, was acting like everything was all good or whatever. Then like some of them be getting sick and stuff. There was a couple of people that passed or whatever through the years that had been there. like this older lady came or whatever, and she had like a heart issue, and they claimed that he told her to stop taking her medicine, but he claims that he ain't telling nothing or whatever, but she passed or whatever. But
while she was down there, what did they do with the body?
I think there was a whole thing about them getting the body back home to her family. So they must have shipped the body to the family or whatever. But we never found out what really happened. Like, nobody really told that story. So hopefully, since this happened, like, people will start coming out and telling their stories. She also said that he cannot benefit monetarily off of anything. No book deal, no Netflix, no none of that. But the ladies could do it. You know what I'm saying?
So they're just gonna give him money. But it's fine. Hopefully everybody will get healing after this. But I would be interested. I'll be on TikTok looking for these follow-up stories, everybody. Now, anyway, look, thank you so much for joining us. Come back next week where we're gonna cover more topics. We have more topics on this list, and of course, whatever happens in the world on the internet, we're gonna, we'll take our pickings and we're gonna see how we feel about those things next Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us. Good night, Blondie. All right.
Yeah. Good night, Blondie. Shout out to you. Shout out to On the Spot Live. Like she said, we'll be back next week. And we might start going live on other channels. So definitely make sure that you follow. Yes, I'm a unicorn. Her link is in the description below. Follow the City Life Sisters and my Mindset and Fitness channel. If you're trying to get your life right and create some new habits, by Demeter Joe. Okay? All right. That's all I got to say. You got anything else to say, sis?
That's all. I'll see y'all next week.
Peace.